Excitement 1995!
Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 23rd of May, 2021. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
Back on real mic.
And Robert Kemp.
Mike doesn't like that. You should get off.
You have to get up on it.
Get up on that mic.
Did you just move your entire desk to try and pull your mic closer, even though your mic is not attached to the desk?
I tried to pull me and my chair forward, and the nature of this desk means that the top is kind of slidey. So I slid the desk instead of me.
You're heavier than your desk, is what we've discovered.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. That is fair. I was going to get up on that mic.
Poor old Mike.
Yeah, no, he gets a bad rap. Actually, he gets all the best raps as well.
He gets all the best.
He gets every kind of rap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gets claustrophobic in those battles. Everyone's right up on him.
Get very close. What about beatboxers? I mean, that must get pretty horrid. Like people are literally wrapping their mouths around him.
That's what getting up on that mic is actually like, though. Only because of pop filters that is slightly spaced.
Full on lip smush.
Yeah.
What happens when Mike D's on the mic? I mean, that must get awkward.
Like some kind of... Well, that feedback loop at that point.
Yeah, it just goes right under the loop.
Mic on mic.
So we're a week late, are we? Because of location changes.
Indeed. There was Son's internet and, Son's any kind of awakenedness. Because, good God, moving house is when you've got a very limited time window, it is a painful period of days.
How many days did you do it over?
1.
So it's a period of day.
It's a period of day. But yeah, there's an awful
period of day.
But that's the thing, that's just the main day. You've got a whole load of prep before that. So I took multiple days off of work to try and get everything sorted for it. And then that day is just getting stuff here. They're just being physically present in this place. Not exactly set up or nice or in any way. So then you spend days and days and days trying to figure out what every box is and moving them into vaguely correct locations so you can then unbox them.
So you didn't label them sufficiently, is what you're saying.
We labelled quite a few. But there were some mystery boxes, for sure. But then some of it's just really bloody heavy stuff. So all the glass coffee tables and things like that, where it's the actual, all the legs and stuff are super light, but the tops are bloody heavy. So then, shuffling those about, or trying to shuffle chests of drawers up the stairs, and things like that. No, we left all that for day 2.
Leave all of it behind.
But then day 2 had the problem of we had to get all our stuff out of the storage unit, because that was the last day we had on the storage unit before they started charging us some more. So it all had to come out of storage on that day. So it was okay, got an empty, what is basically a small shed's worth of boxes, floor to ceiling, and get those here as well.
Yeah.
So, okay, I guess 2 days, then one day of actual limit, and the second day of imposed commercial limit.
And then how many days recovery for that one day? Or 2 days.
My feet were still not happy about the floor being a thing a good couple days later. And, weirdest little ache I think I've had for a while. My fingers hurt. I woke up with achy fingers. From all that grip
grabbing
on
everything.
Boxes.
Gripping things. Yeah. You need to do some climbing and get your strength up in your fingers.
Play some 3DS.
Yeah.
I haven't got that. I haven't used my Switch in handheld mode for a while. So it was It was a day, and then some. There's still boxes and shit everywhere, and there's like all kinds of stuff we need to sort around here. Boiler currently doesn't work because they didn't leave us with oil. There's no oil in an oil boiler. Kind of a problem.
I would say it's lucky it's the summer, but it's not exactly hot.
It's not quite yet, really.
It's bearable right now, is what I would describe it here. But
For you?
like, yeah, for me. There's only been one night since it stopped completely that has been perhaps a little chilly.
Actually, when you say oil burner, you mean burning oil.
Yeah.
Not just there's oil in the radiators.
Oh,
that,
no.
could be a thing as well.
Yeah, no, it's not that. There's a full-on oil tank outside that they sent us instructions for when we actually get a delivery. It's like that. There's a lot of COVID-y stuff, restrictions, and like these guys don't even want to be said hello to. It's like can't even don't go to greet your delivery man. They'll just do it.
But isn't that the ideal scenario?
I mean, yeah, I guess I can just be sat in here and just like see someone faffing around in my oil tank and assume they're not stealing it. It's fine.
It's like how the old coal deliveries used to work. It's just like, you can hear them tipping the coal into the coal shed. Don't need to interact with that in any way. They'll just shove the bill through the door when they're done.
Nice. You have to there's this oil club or something that was trying to
Welcome to
sort
the
us
oil
out
club.
with. Yeah, it's kind of
like a wine club
click.
or something.
But sort of, it's a little bit like one of those subscription services, right? You sort of you subscribe to this thing, and then you can organise regular deliveries of oil, and then they'll just fill up what you need.
Well, I mean, it's more like you're organising, because that's like how the coal works. Admittedly, in the coal situation, there's only like one place that sold coal in the entire of Suffolk or whatever. So you kind of had limited options, but you're setting up a scheduled delivery for stuff.
Fuel, yeah.
It's kind of important.
Yeah. So I don't know if you'll be able to see it, Zach, but behind where my old monitor box is, there's like a little white stick sticking up.
The aerial to some kind of thing.
Yeah. So that's called a Watchman Sonic, and that's supposed to be like a radio to the tank.
Right.
And it's got a little display on it that's supposed to tell you how much is in there. When we moved in, and for many, many days, that has said it's half full.
Which is not true, presumably.
Blatantly not true. Occasionally, every now and then I've caught it, and it's just displayed like a flashing warning triangle, which I'm not sure means like, is the radio down? Or I mean, that would be what was my first assumption. It's like, is the radio busted? I'll just turn it off and on again. And then after a while, it showed half full again, and it's like, okay.
Did they leave you instructions for getting the fuel, but not for like the thing that is attached to the fuel tank that tells you about the fuel?
There actually is somewhere. There's a little manual for that thing. I haven't bothered digging it out.
You probably should.
But I just like, why would it say half full? Like, it's like a lie. It's a complete lie.
Well, I mean, yeah, if it's some kind of sensor error.
Yeah. And I've heard from multiple people that these things just suck. That they are just bad.
Well, I mean, like, how would you even sense that? I guess is the actual question. What is it doing?
You just do it with like a floaty thing.
You could, but that would have to be installed like inside the tank.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
Well, why not? Just buy a tank with a floaty thing.
Yes, that would be. Actually, I don't know if that would be a good idea. Like, it's because like oil, especially, like a more viscous fluid that could potentially gunk.
What, you reckon the float would like just?
Yeah.
What in the actual mechanism?
Because it would be in like in a smaller tube within the main tank, presumably to make the float work, or
Yeah,
that
maybe.
kind of float anyway. I guess I haven't worked with oil enough to know what the actual way you measure how full an oil tank is. I think you just. I don't know. I was like, I'm thinking about how would you do that in an industrial plant, and then the answer is probably you just know the numbers going in and out at all times.
Yeah.
It's like you probably don't actually measure how full the tank is directly.
No, because you know how much you're pumping in, and yeah, that would make sense. I don't know how much it's pumping in. I don't know how much the boiler's pumping out. But then surely if you attached a sonic to the other side, at both ends, right? So you could have a sonic at the... Oh, no, you just do it both on the tank, I guess. You could have one, like... What? You could just have an in and out marker on the tank and then have a radio that just...
But flow measurement is probably harder than level measurement for a non-industrial scale.
Yeah, maybe.
Because the only
Maybe.
question is like if it's radio, it's a radio signal or whatever.
Hmm.
It's like, what if it makes it explode? But I'm sure that's old school, like petrol station mobile phone situation where it's like that's not actually how that works.
Well, it's got a load of dip switches on the back, so a bit of me wondered, like, if I could figure, like, maybe the dip switch combination is wrong. So, because our neighbours have oil boilers as well, so it's like, I wonder
You're
if
picking up someone else's tank.
Yeah, I wonder. As it turns out, they're all right for oil.
They're at least half full.
Yeah, so that's a bit weird. And we so there is a sort of like temporary solution to that as well, because we can do the thing where you don't know if you've ever had to do this on a boiler, but you can get there's a little braided cable that attaches between 2 points, and you attach it up. It's supposed to be disconnected. You attach it manually, and you use that to put pressure back into your system because the pressure's down because we've used all the water from it.
That's not how our boiler works.
Okay,
our
yeah.
boiler just has like 2 taps. Like it's always linked into the mains.
Yeah. So that's the same thing, but it's always
2
connected.
taps rather than an extra tube that you attach.
Yeah, like for some reason, I looked into it. There's some sort of regulation that means you're not really supposed to have that solidly connected, at least not in the system that we've got.
Well, I don't know if it's a solid pipe. It might still be a
flexi
solid
cable,
pipe.
Yeah. But yeah, you're not supposed to have it connected, and then you turn the taps off, and then you're supposed to detach it all. So like, I could figure out where one end went, but I couldn't figure out where the other end went. And because it turns out it was the end that looked the most stopped off, like it had like a big old brass bit on it, and it's a massive nut, and it's just like, okay, I didn't think that could come off. It looks dangerous. So
well, it is a boiler. It's like technically it is dangerous.
Yeah, so you're supposed to connect those things, run it on, and then it repressurizes, and then the tank's got an immersion heater in it, so we can at least get some hot water, but in the least efficient way imaginable. Or is it the most efficient way? I don't know. Is immersion bad?
I mean,
or is it just not fast?
Yeah, I suppose it should be super efficient, right? Because it's just electricity.
Yeah, electricity goes straight into the water.
But presumably electricity is more expensive than...
Yeah, I guess that's it.
Is it though?
Yeah, but by kilowatt hour, I think it is.
That's why we don't have electric heating for the central heating much.
I don't think that's why, though. I think that's more of a, we've been grandfathered into water/fire-based heating at this point.
I like that phrase. Grandfathered into.
Well, that's what
we
call it.
It's a classic. I saw that the new, slight tangent, but I saw that the Ford is doing an F-150 pickup truck that's electric, which is obviously a big deal because, I guess loads of people in America, that's all they drive is giant pickup trucks and they don't care about Tesla or whatever. But if suddenly they have a fully electric pickup that's actually cheaper and more powerful than their existing pickup, and it has a trunk in the front because there's no engine there. But another thing it does is it has enough battery that you can plug it in and go in reverse and power your house for 3 days if there's a power cut.
Okay,
which is pretty cool.
That's
and considering there were those giant power cuts in Texas or whatever this year.
Yes, the exact market for this type of truck.
Exactly. It's pretty awesome.
I can only assume it would be way more efficient than American cars' fuel economy because they're historically terrible, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, for some reason, American cars just aren't awful with fuel compared to the rest of the world.
Yeah, well, it's because
it's cheap.
It's cheap, yeah.
But surely that would be really annoying. Surely they don't make the tanks massive.
Well, the cars are massive, so they naturally have massive tanks.
Yeah, I guess
it's true.
Like that Cadillac with chrome wheels that we rented when I was in Frisco,
and also because
it was enormous.
Also because America is designed around the car so much, it's probably way less inconvenient to go to a petrol station than it is for us.
Yeah, but that's sort of what I mean. It's surely the distances between useful things are just generally bigger because America.
Yeah.
So it's a real pain to actually get there. I suppose that's the other thing with electric, though, right? Because the distances between things are bigger.
Yeah, you run out of charge too fast.
Yeah. That's kind of an issue. Electric cars are a bit more practical in UK than they are in America.
And it's good enough for trundling around the farm for some of the day.
Yeah. I can't remember what the range was. I think it was decent, but obviously not as. I mean, with a normal
And is that
truck,
off-road or not? That's the question.
Yeah, it had an off-road mode. Yeah, I think that probably used more power, presumably, but that would
Yeah, that's
use
what I
more
meant.
petrol
Like,
as
what's
well.
the range when it's off-road compared to? Because I'm sure the range they're quoting isn't on-road.
Yeah, well, it will be. Yeah, I bet there's
As soon as you want
tons
to
of.
torque up, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, but it had a tow mode, obviously, that was pretty. Could tow a lot of torque. But I guess that makes sense. You get instant torque, right? With electric motors.
Electric engines are great
Yeah.
for torque.
It'd be great for a pickup truck. Yeah, and it doesn't look ridiculous like the Cybertruck. It just looks like a normal. Yeah.
Did that thing ever come out?
Not yet.
Can you buy a Cybertruck?
Well, you can pre-order one. I don't think it's out yet.
Sort of buying, I guess.
Yeah, I think it can't be that far away. I don't know what problems they're having with that thing.
All the same problems that they're having with all their other stuff, probably.
Well, they get there
bulletproof
eventually.
glass.
That was hilarious. I don't think people are actually going to buy that thing, though, compared to the other Teslas. It just looks too weird.
No.
Yeah.
It is too weird. I mean, will it get picked up on radar?
Yeah, is it actually stealth? That should what people
That
are
would
asking it for.
I think
So
Musk
clever.
just got obsessed with like high grade stainless steel after they realized that they can make the Starship out of it, and he was like, "Make the truck out of it too."
It didn't have to be super angular and high grade stuff.
No, I suppose not.
You could have just made like a DeLorean or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's still quite angular, but not as angular as the Cybertruck.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, that's an interesting thought in itself. Just what if DeLorean made an SUV?
You mean in the same style as the?
Well, kind of in the same way that Ford makes. Okay, I don't mind Fords. The Focus and the Fiesta are fine, but and even the F-150, it's a fine looking vehicle. But like the Puma, have you seen the new Puma? It's like it's like they took a Fiesta and just like stretched it vertically. It's ugly as hell. Like it's terrible.
The original
thing.
Puma was like a Fiesta, but made really good, nice looking. Remember
I'm
that?
trying to think, was it the Puma or the? Yeah, the Puma was like a low slung, sporty looking thing.
It was. I'm getting them confused.
And there was the Cougar, which was another similar thing, which I think they've also turned into a crappy SUV. Oh no, the Cougar spelt properly, I think, was a sporty thing, but then I've got the Cougar that spelt Kuga.
Oh, right. I thought we were about to have a Cougar with like Tumblr.
Oh, what, a Cougar!
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past them. It can't be any worse than Volkswagen's names, right? Like a T-Rock. What, they have the T-Rock, Touran, and Touareg.
Well, at least Touareg sounds a bit Germany.
Yeah, a bit Germany. Yeah, don't like your SUVs, Paul. I'm a bit disappointed because I quite like an SUV, I think.
Yeah, that's going that way. I mean, no one's buying cars anymore. Everyone wants to be up high when they're on the road. I don't think Ford make any cars in America apart from like the Mustang.
They have made the Focus in America for a while. It's a slightly different thing because
I
they
think
prefer the Focus Saloon, not the Focus hatchback.
I think there's a difference between making them and people liking them.
Yeah.
But I don't think they make a Ford Focus in America anymore.
Oh, okay. They've stopped that. Okay.
Yeah, I think
'Cause
so.
It's weird, isn't it? Americans don't really have the hatchback.
No.
I was literally watching a YouTube video about this yesterday.
Oh, really?
About what the top cars in America versus Europe are like.
But now they don't.
A hatchback is really practical, like compared to a saloon, anyway.
I don't know. They're just prejudice against them, I guess.
Supposedly, one of the main problem is just like the engine power. Like in America,
Or what, on their terrible octane fuel?
well, it's just like small cars in general because they're like generally low horsepower and they just don't accelerate as fast. And Americans just find that incredibly. They just don't like it. They're obsessed with like 0 to 60 numbers.
Hence muscle cars.
Yeah, hence muscle cars. But like that is just one of the main selling points of cars to them. Is just like they require that number to be good, and whatever good means. So a tiny shitty like 1 liter hatchback or whatever just won't ever sell.
But it's not even. I don't think they even put like massive engines in a Focus saloon. Like it's the same bloody engine, right? It's like all they do is they change the back half, so it's uglier.
Yeah, I think that's just one of the main things.
It's just the form factor, isn't it? Yeah, the form factor isn't used at all. You could make a hot hatch and probably sell it over there, like an ST or something.
Maybe,
but they wouldn't buy it because it's a hatch.
Well, because it's small.
Yeah, well,
they need their space. Also, one of the things that was pointed out in this video I was watching was just like the guy was looking at the inside of a regular European car while he was in Europe. He's like, if you look at the center console, you can see that there's no cup holders, and we can't have that. America requires cup holders.
I require cup holders. I like a cup holder. It's a little bit irritating that the cup holders in the Beamer can either operate as cup holders, or you can put little plastic bits in there to make them not cup holders and make them like segmented. So like there's a thing you can put in one of the cup holders that has a perfectly sized hole for putting the key in.
Okay.
Which is kind of cool, but it takes over a cup holder. I guess it's fine if you're only ever soloing in the car, but like the moment you get two people in there, you need two cup holders.
Yes, obviously.
Need my drive-through Costa.
Yeah, that's probably one of the reasons why Americans need cup holders. Drive-throughs. Lots of drive-throughs. Drive-through beer.
Drive-through beer. Is that a thing?
In a couple of states, I'm sure.
Oh, God.
A couple of drive-through liquor stores. Maybe not beer. Maybe more like real, like, things that you definitely can't drink in a car.
A friend of mine was telling me there are drive-through liquor establishments in Australia, but they're not like drive-through as you think. You'll drive up to the bottle-o, as they're called, and they'll open the boot for you and just chuck them in the back.
Okay.
You don't leave the car. You just turn up and be like, and they'll just put a crate of Castlemaine in the back for you.
It's more suitable for pickup trucks.
Yeah, I guess.
The botlo.
The bottle-o, yeah.
I'm going to the botlo. Getting some bottles from the botlo.
I think it. Did I watch? I'm trying to remember. Like, I think there was a comedy thing I watched once where they were talking about the bottle store, like being what they called the like a liquor place. It was just called a bottle store,
right.
And over time that's just shortened to bottle-o.
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Bottle-o. You watch Eurovision, Zach?
No, I read the headline where it's like, and we came last, and I was like, well,
oh
yeah.
We came last hard.
I was thinking about it because I was like, when I saw the headline, and I was thinking about like we were doing not so bad recently, and I was like, oh yeah, Brexit.
Yeah,
I was like, oh yeah, what did we do to piss off Europe? Oh yeah, that one thing.
I don't think we had a great entry, but it was not the worst entry, not by a long way. It was a pretty generic dance track, honestly, and his performance wasn't that hot. But hey, there were much worse things.
Always.
Did you hear that Bill Bailey wants to do it next year?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, it doesn't matter at this point, right?
Yeah,
doesn't
exactly.
Just throw anyone at it. We might as well have a comedy act. Like, does the UK doesn't really do comedy acts at Eurovision, do we? We had that one that was like school days or something. Wasn't there someone rapping about being at school or something that was pretty awful?
There was the flight attendants.
Oh yeah, they were pretty bad.
If you can call that a comedy act, exactly. It was more just like a bad 90s pop group.
Yeah,
act.
It was sort of leaning into steps, but in the worst way. I guess they were theming steps somehow. They should have just sent the fast food rockers, right? Let's eat to the beat. Pizza Hut, pizza.
That very much sounds like a Eurovision song.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. We totally should have done that. That was a fun one, and I don't think there was any particularly standout great tracks, but it was still a fun one. Decent. Maybe it's just the whole 2-year thing catching up with me.
Yeah,
and it's just like, oh,
you were missing it.
Yeah,
it's nice to have a weird normal thing back. The normality is restored by the weirdness of Eurovision.
It was quite weird. and there was one request to play Ya Ya Ding Dong, so that's fine.
I got crushed in the
I
sweepstakes.
salute you.
I literally chose the winner as the worst.
Yep.
Which was funny.
And the biggest negative score I think we've had in the Eurovision game.
And it was rubbish. Not a
It
fan.
wasn't great. It was all right, but it wasn't great.
Yeah, well, never mind.
For those that don't know, the Eurovision game is like you have to pick the winner and the loser, and you get positive points for the winner and negative points for the loser. So you want to try and get that difference as big as you possibly can. And Gnome basically crushed it by picking France and and Moldova, and France were like nearly won. So that's
despite being like a song in French, but using GCSE French vocabulary.
Yeah. It was like, here's a song in French that we think everyone can understand. Let's just say voila a lot.
Yeah, voila a lot.
They might as well have just chucked the Zut alors in there. You know?
Yeah.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Singer.
I'm called Singer.
You may call me Singer.
Je suis chanteuse. I think that's right.
Le Bard. It's French for bard.
For what? Bard?
Bard, yeah. Specifically bard.
I don't know what French for bard is.
Oh, okay.
Why?
Is that not on Duolingo?
Bard is not the most common word in English. Who's called... It's barely used apart from when talking about Shakespeare and the occasional RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're bard, mate.
Oh, bard, as in you've been barred. I'm sure that's different.
No, I think
Interdit.
All right, I'm going to do a very... Because I feel like we might be getting near the end of the random section. I'm going to do a very...
I think
Maybe.
we are.
I'm going to do a very...
I think the French for bard
impromptu
is bard.
segue. Like, there's no segue here at all. I'm just going to go off onto a different topic, right? It's not house grouse. It's tech heck or something. I don't know. I couldn't think of a decent name for this. Right. So you know, like, power plugs, right? And you know the type where, like, power supplies, they put the adapter on the plug?
yeah,
Which way round should they go? Should they hang up or hang down to you?
depends what they're
the
plugged on,
transformer.
what they're attached to.
Right, because I believe they should all hang down. Because if you've got like a power strip, or one of those ones with two sides, normally the plugs face outwards from it. So if you've got ones that...
Oh, you mean two sides as in two lines
strips,
adjacent to each other, not literally two sides?
Well, yeah, if you want a visual representation, there are two of them under my desk right now, and they're basically two lines. They're both 8 power units, but there's 2 strips of 4 basically next to each other.
Yeah.
But they face away from each other, which makes sense because that's where the cables would normally go.
Yeah.
Unless you've got one of these power supplies that goes up. But if you put one of those power supplies that goes up on it, it blocks a port. You can't plug anything else in there.
Yep, I've had
All the
this problem
Americans
for years.
are going to be completely like shitting on you for coming up with this problem that they've had for like a million years and way worse.
Yeah, of course, because they arrange their plug sockets vertically, don't they?
Their ones are all in a line, so if you have any transformers, they all obscure each other.
Yeah.
So dumb.
It's just such a stupid... Like, don't do it. Stop doing it. Like, either put them... Why don't they come out like sticks?
Why don't they go vertically out?
Yeah.
Just straight out? Because then if they had them plugged into the wall, you'd keep kicking them all the time.
Well, yeah, I guess.
I have this problem with the guitar pedals. Like, they all have slightly different... not all of them. Like, a lot of them are 9-volt DC, but some of them have special, requirements for AC or DC at different voltage or whatever. And they all have these transformers on the plug, and they all point totally different ways, so that you then smack into each other constantly, and you always wasting plug sockets.
Like,
So-
can you get like a little device that turns your plug socket upside down? Isn't there an adapter
Probably.
for that? Because I was looking for one earlier, and I couldn't think of anything other than to get one of those like cubes of power sockets that so it would raise it slightly. Not that I would use another
whole
one. Like,
fire hazard going on.
yeah, exactly. But I wouldn't plug other things into it. I just wanted to use it to like raise it up, so the fact that it overhung the other socket wouldn't be a problem. I could plan around that.
Or maybe you could just get another powered cable. If you know the voltage and everything, you might just be able to get one that has the cable going out in the right direction.
I did think about that as well. Because, this audio interface is one of the ones that has a terrible power supply. So it's going to be in here and I'm going to know about it.
That's the problem that I have when I'm doing the stuff at the charity shop, sorting out all their electrical crap, where it's just like, oh, this thing doesn't have its cable, or it has enough cable, but do we have one of these in our big box of cables? And then it's like, how do we have a lot, like 10? We have like 20 or 30 different like power plugs, and it's just like, how are none of these 9-volt? It's just like that, I guess because we use the 9-volt ones, so they never stay in the box. We've just got all the weird voltages left.
Right. Yeah. Haven't you got to worry about like the amp output as well?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But current output.
As long as the labels are all intact, you can just read it and find out what you need.
This is what you need. Yeah, that's my mild irritation of today. Also, we have ceiling fans upstairs. Ceiling fans suck.
Why do you care?
Because they really because A, they look ugly.
Well,
and,
yeah.
they are actually incredibly effective for air circulation. That part I will give them. But they're also incredibly noisy because they make like a sort of like you turn them on and they go like the motor is like.
Maybe you need to go up there and oil them or something though. Maybe there's some maintenance that you should be doing here.
I think it's just the electric motor, right? It's just making a like a. It's not the motion of it. It's like it's
that's
the
because
motor noise.
It's pushing against the startup friction essentially.
Oh no, but it makes that even when it's like spinning, and it makes the same noise no matter what speed it's at. It's like you're hearing transformer hum.
Maybe that definitely still sounds like a thing that's like. Who knows what DIY state this house is in? It's basically what we're saying.
Yeah, it's got a few little issues here and there. There's a tap that's basically falling off. That's standard.
Yep.
Some questionable colour choices for paint upstairs.
Well, that's not a DIY issue, really.
Well, I mean, you've got to do DIY and paint. Painting is DIY, right?
Yes, but it's not actually a problem. It's not a physical problem that you can't deal with.
Putting your internet in the kitchen, on the other hand, that's a problem.
Yeah, probably.
That's probably not the smartest place to do it.
But then again, considering the situation in, all of our houses pretty much, it's just like, you don't really get much choice most of the time.
Well,
it's just like wherever the internet comes in is where it comes in, and that's what you're stuck with forever.
I guess they shove it out the front of the house. I mean, here, I think the telephone cables are all external. I don't think there's anything under the ground.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell. Like, there's all, like, classic old school poles and wires above everything.
Yeah.
And so they took the lazy option, as far as I can tell, and we're like, well, the standard telephone wire comes to that corner of the house, so we'll just put the socket on that corner of the house, rather than like wiring it to a useful room.
Well, I mean, yes, that's what you would do. Or that's probably nothing to do with the homeowner. That's probably to do with like
the original
BT
builder,
or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. So they just fitted it there, and it's super annoying. So I am actually going to get a mate of mine who's going to run what we're going to do is going to have the master socket stay where it is, because that's actually kind of a pain in the ass to sort out.
Yes, because that is like you legally British Telecom or whatever. They own it all.
I don't know how that works, but yeah, it's a bit weird. And so we'll leave that there, and we'll plug in the modem, the fiber modem there. But then what we'll do is we'll run an Ethernet cable outside the house, because that's actually the easiest route. So we'll do it like a Sky engineer does, like with the aerial cables. We'll run it out of the kitchen and over to here, this office room, so I can actually get proper internet to this PC that we're recording on right now, rather than using an incredibly horrible setup with my work laptop running internet connection sharing, which really sucks. I could just get a Wi-Fi card for my PC. Admittedly, that's an option, but I want other things in here. The whole point in this room is to put the tech in here.
And you always want a cable. And now that you have a house that you can do shit to more easily, it's like, why not?
Exactly. I mean, no one was worried about, you're going to put a cable outside, it's going to make the front of the house ugly. And then I had a good few minutes pointing out all the cables that attach to the outside of this house. There's quite a few. It's like, I don't think adding one more is going to make much difference.
And also, like, I mean, this is not a useful argument in any way, but when are you ever looking at the front of this house
Not when you're in it.
Well, I mean, there's nowhere to really even stand out there to look at the front of this house.
No, it's relatively close to the road. It's not like we have a front garden or it's set back particularly. But you'd rather come inside. Come in.
You should have just the obvious counter is like, well, would you prefer to run a cable in the inside of the house? Obviously not.
Well, we talked about that, yeah. And it's like, well, she's like, well, you could run it under the floorboards, and it's like,
could you?
Maybe, yeah. But we're on the bottom floor, so it's like that isn't always the case. Like it's probably concrete right under here.
Yeah, this house is probably new enough that that's exactly the way they would do it.
That's how they built our last place. So
Yeah,
it's like, and it's the same sort of age.
Yeah,
so
ish.
yeah, not. I don't think that would be. I mean, there's plenty of walls to go through as well. At least 2 walls and a front door to navigate. Not the easiest solution. Just go outside.
Yep.
In the sunshine.
There we go. It's my house grouse and tech hack.
Probably some more house grouse still to come.
Oh yeah,
The House
I
Grouse,
bet
new season of House Grouse is
Yeah.
just beginning.
I bet there'll be something. Like we thought we leveled the washing machine properly this time. Because you know how it used to
Make a hell of noise.
Well, yeah, it makes a hell of noise, and it used to rumble enough to make the coffee table, like drinks on the coffee table, like most of the distance across the house, would visibly rumble like Jurassic Park. And it's like, so now we think we've got it leveled, but it's still every now and then, like when it gets really, really going, like it seems to make a hell of a noise. Like I don't know if the drums just busted from the move or something, and it's eventually going to tear itself apart. So that would be fun.
Great.
But key information has been discerned about this place. Domino's is available.
Yeah.
This
Well,
is the key.
That's all you have though. That's the problem.
I mean, we'll go and need them. It's like there's probably. I mean, I guess they're not.
Well,
going to be able to
I don't mean
deliver.
there's literally that's the only option for pizza you have. I mean that's the only one that will deliver.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I probably can't get a. I don't know. Do they deliver? Is there Just Eat in Needham?
Well, maybe. I guess you could potentially, but where even else would you get one from?
Well, I get Wong's or something.
Yeah,
Get Chinese in,
I can't wait to come visit and get some wongs.
and the mysterious other Chinese that's there that I don't think I've ever tried. In fairness, I haven't had Wong since I was like 12. So that's gonna be. It's probably not the same Wong.
Chinese chips.
I thought Bond's, that fish and chip shop, had shut, but it's like something else now? Is it still?
I think they
as good as
sold. They
Bond's?
retired. Well, they retired, didn't, and they were our next door neighbours, like the Bonds.
yeah, because the other fish chip had already been taken over.
Yeah,
And then Bonds was
Fantense,
like, "This is the real fish and chip shop still,"
Yeah.
and then it's like now they've got as well.
the other one's just called the Chippy now.
Oh, that's not
I
good.
mean, that's the helpful branding.
The Chippy. Let's go down the Chippy. Literally,
Should have called it the gym.
the gym. Yeah.
That was our old classic.
I'm pretty sure there is a bar. I thought there was a bar in Bury St Edmunds called the Gym for ages because they basically had a sign outside that looked like you could order pub food. And it's like, it turns out it's a gym and bar. It's like it's actually a gym and a bar. So it's just I'm going down the gym, and you don't have to go in the gym bit.
So it's not fake. It's just that's how it works.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Oh my god, my leg is cramping. Something awful. Ah!
That's helpful,
Yeah, sorry.
especially because you're attached by a very short cable.
Oh my god. I've been so crampy of late. Like since the move, like I'm cramping like real bad. Oh,
It's all that gripping things and moving and shuffling.
my legs.
I don't think shuffle
enough
is
running.
the right verb for moving furniture.
I mean, it's true. I haven't done a lot of running, but
Yeah,
ran,
maybe.
ran yesterday and did a very slow plod earlier in the week. But Christ, on a bike.
And that's the random section.
Yeah, I guess so. Rob's cramping has demanded that we move on.
It's time for the news. What's going on?
But, mate, we were staying at the Barlow's last night, and I did cramp up in the middle of the night, and because I've got a small kid, I had to try not to. I tried like dull my because I scream really quite badly if I cramp in bed because I can't do anything about it until I jump out of bed.
Mm.
And so, like when it kicks in, I'm like, there's a bit of a squealing pig moment. So I was like, "Oh, keep it quiet, keep it quiet." Oh, that's really uncomfortable. Just like new.
Okay. Uncomfortable news. What's the most uncomfortable news that we have this week? 3 weeks.
Well, I'm vaguely relying on you lot this time because I'm not.
Yeah, but there hasn't really been much, I don't think.
Is there anything we care about? Time Splitters is back.
Time Splitters, yeah. Deep Silver, who are part of THQ Nordic, have reformed Free Radical, and like the studio is still called Free Radical. After, I mean, which is a bit weird because like, do Crytek own the name Free Radical? Because Crytek like bought Free Radical back in the day. Done that thing with the table again.
Yeah.
So like, can they do that? I guess that maybe they can. They just have to change whether it's like PLC or Limited on the end or something.
Well, assuming that they did actually take that name.
Yeah. Or maybe they just bought the people. Yeah. Good question. Anyway, they're reforming Free Radical with the intention of actually making a Time Splitters game. And they've brought on two of the original members of Free Radical that were quite like important. Like David Doak is the important one because he was from GoldenEye. His lineage comes from there, and the like Rare games, GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, and then he went off and made the Time Splitters game. So it's like, ooh, they've got the real people.
Sweet. It's exciting.
But then a bit of me's like, what even is a Time Splitters today? Like, what would it just be a retro throwback shooter?
Battle Royale.
Oh my god, no! I hope not.
Yeah, that would be terrible.
There'd be a lot of characters.
Well, yeah, but it's like it basically just is Fortnite. That's like what Time Splitters Battle Royale is.
Yeah, I suppose.
They even have time travel in their universe.
True. And floating snowmen.
Yeah.
And giant hands. And duckmen. Don't know if they had a banana.
It does seem like something they would have had.
Yeah,
they had monkeys.
They had a lot of monkeys. That was kind of the running joke, wasn't it? It's like, here's the short ass character.
Yeah.
Because we need one after the whole on job thing. Yeah, I mean, it's probably just going to be remakes, right? But then why get the original people in to just put out a remaster? Unless you really have to do work to make it like feel like a modern shooter.
Yeah, maybe.
But then you don't need the founders to do that, presumably. You just get any old shooter studio in to take your assets and modern it up. Get Bluepoint on it, borrow them off Sony, and then...
Because they could just remake anything.
Apparently. Yeah, so get excited. This probably means that Time Splitters Rewind might get shut down, but...
Probably. Or just bought up.
Yeah,
take that amount of work, even though that's maybe too much of a direct remake.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, that was the whole point, wasn't it? You have to completely rebuild from scratch the original games into some combination package. Yeah, so there's that. Mildly exciting. Watch this space for 3 years. I've got a little note about something else. Like I saw on a tweet a few days ago, or probably a couple of weeks ago now. I've lost track of time. Time is meaningless. That according to an earnings call, I think it was an earnings call, less than a quarter of EA's revenue these days comes from their game sales.
What?
Yeah, less than a quarter comes from game sales. The rest of it comes from live services and FIFA Ultimate Team.
I feel like we've probably heard close to those numbers before.
Yeah, but that goes a lot. That's a bonkers difference, though, and it goes a long way to explaining why EA have focused on this nonsense for so long.
Because it's what makes them money, right? Yeah,
it's lucrative. Yeah, it's hugely lucrative.
I just don't understand who these people are that spend all this money on
FIFA.
On FIFA. But you'd think that I would have still thought that the most. I mean, unless I'd heard this, I would have thought that most of the money from FIFA comes from people buying the new copy of FIFA every year for someone for Christmas. Yeah, without knowing any better.
I mean, is there an equivalent of like the Ultimate Team thing for like Madden?
It's not as ridiculous, but there is, yeah.
Hmm.
Well, in every EA game, there's basically that now.
Right. Like hockey, I guess. And
Yeah.
golf? Or are there too few golfists?
Yeah, maybe they don't have but you also don't have a team in golf, so well, I guess you kind of do in some situations, but not in the same way as a football team.
I mean, yeah, is the team like the ultimate golfer caddy combo? You'd have to introduce caddies.
Or it's just like the Ryder Cup, but except with not Europe versus USA. It's just like two random teams.
Yeah. Unless they really did make it into like some sort of tactical esport, like Mario Golf, Speed Golf. NASCAR aren't EA yet. Although, EA have F1 now as well, so like because they have Codemasters.
Oh, right, yeah.
So we might see some like F1 Ultimate Team. Like again, it's a bit weird because there's only like 2 people per team, but like unless you're hiring the entire pit crew, or like Toto Wolff gets a card. Or something.
I mean that's like now you're getting into the manager.
Oh god, now the other leg's cramping. What is going on with my body?
You're getting into the manager games now, not really just the F1 game. You want to port.
Oh, true, yeah. But then
F1 Manager 2021.
But then F1 is, I thought the Codemasters F1 games had sort of lent into a little bit of management in the career stuff.
Yeah, but that's just like how EA football games started having.
Oh yeah. But that mode was kind of fun.
Sure, but like
especially if you're digging around in multiplayer.
There's always a way to form a monetization strategy that involves buying cards of people.
Yeah. There's even more people in Madden, isn't there, than there is in FIFA?
Yeah, but you'd think like making a team for that would be even more expensive.
Because there's like twice as many people on a team, right? Because of the 2 lines and
more people on the field to start with.
Yeah.
Marginally.
Ultimate Rugby.
Yeah, 15 aside. It's even more than NFL.
Have EA ever made a rugby game?
Probably. Well, I don't know about EA. I mean, people have made
rugby games, yeah.
It's hard to tell because I'm sure the last time I saw a rugby game actually come out, it would have just been called like rugby and then a date,
right.
Which is just like you can't really tell whether that's the EA product because that's what it would be called.
Yeah. EA Sports Rugby 21. I don't know what I know there's a smeg ton of monetization in 2K games as well, like NBA 2K.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't know quite what their monetization does.
I mean, they have an Ultimate Team equivalent.
Do they? Okay. That would be it then.
I'm surprised no one's tried, as far as I know. Maybe they have. But no one, certainly none of the big people have tried to make a new cricket game, like a 2020 cricket game.
I mean,
because now it's all funky, they could probably actually make it kind of cool in the same way as baseball games.
I mean, yeah, maybe. I guess.
And I bet,
cricket 2020 hasn't ever been anywhere near as big though as like MLB.
Except maybe now because of India, you probably have quite a big market for that.
Well, yeah,
as
maybe.
a video game.
I guess you're probably right. But then, like, what is gaming like in India? Like, do people own consoles? Like, is it like what percentage of the population kind of, without being too like racist, I guess. Like, I don't know much about the culture, but like, is that an affordable thing for enough of India to make it worthwhile?
What sport do you need to sell to Brazil? That's the classic.
Yeah, football.
It is just football again.
That's the problem. Soccer.
But yeah, cricket seems like that should have been a thing that someone would have tried by now. In the modern age of cricket. Yeah.
I mean, EA puts out some cricket games, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there have been more recent than that. Bradman doing his thing.
Yeah. There's definitely
badly.
There's definitely companies making cricket games, and they definitely turn up on Xbone.
But I don't think I've ever seen one that specifically tried to be like 2020 style. Like, it's always just regular cricket, or maybe the options can let you make a shorter, but it's just not. It's not framed as being cool in any way. It's just like his cricket,
dynamic cricket. I don't like cricket. Yeah. So there's that, and that's pretty much the news I had. So you guys can lead the rest.
Well, there was the we go back a topic and have the convenient segue off of Fortnite into Epic versus Apple, because that lawsuit has started for reals.
Right, what's going on?
I don't remember very much, but there's been, the funny thing about it is that, like, all the times that you talk about potential video game lawsuits and you say, oh, they'll just settle it out of court so we'll never know. This one is actually happening for real, so now we do actually get like real actual information.
Yeah, because there was some, we talked about some stuff before, didn't we, that Apple were like, some of the documents have been made available, like Apple's estimates on how Epic actually functions financially, for instance.
But then it's like, now we get to see what Epic's like internal PowerPoint presentation about this whole situation is like, and it's like,
oh wow, they're actually going to show that.
It's pretty funny.
Okay.
Well, the main thing that came out of seeing that is just like, after the speculation when this lawsuit situation first happened, it turns out that everyone was completely right that Epic had planned this all along. They totally knew that this was how this was going to go down, and like how they were going to react and all this stuff.
Well, naturally, because they would have had to have got ahead of it to make all their materials in time, right?
Yeah, but like that's what everyone suspected would happen. But then this PowerPoint presentation is like, yep, they totally had a plan, and it was like it has a project name or whatever.
Oh, did it?
I forget what it was, but it has.
Oh, yeah.
Nefarious sounding.
And then, of course, you get the classic, the classic like corporate PowerPoint presentation thing that you'd get in this situation, where it's just like you get like weird PowerPoint bullets that are just like, Epic is not going to be seen as the good guy in this situation because we're too big, and like it's just like it's these very obvious, like when you actually see them sort of laying it out, where it's just like at least they kind of understand that everyone's going to shit on them for this whole thing, because there is some like self-realization about them.
Yeah, I mean, it's risk assessment, right?
Yeah.
Someone's not doing their job if they don't look at that.
And that is another thing that people have been saying about this whole project/PowerPoint thing that has turned up, where it's like, whatever consultant company they hired to do this risk assessment did a really good job.
Right.
They definitely have pointed out all the problems with this plan. Whereas if you take the Apple version of this, where it's like the Apple internal memos and PowerPoints, it's like, oh, it's an Apple thing. It's not nearly as interesting. It's like, it's hella Apple, where it's all clean and nice, whereas the Epic one is like, it's very representative of the company culture, essentially.
Wow. That's an interesting point in itself. So if this internal Apple stuff isn't particularly open and maybe honest, or maybe they're a little bit hesitant, or do you think that's the Apple culture, or do you think that's actually a doctored document that's like, here's what we actually wanted to release?
Well, I mean, I'm sure I don't know if presumably since it's court stuff, it can't have been, they must have like edit dates and everything on those files, so they'll know if it's if it's been intentionally made that way since.
It still seems weird though, right? Like, you'd think I think that if you're a company operating at that high level, you'd have to be honest from time to time. Or maybe they just don't write that down. They just like berate each other in meetings.
Well, or it's a matter of like being honest but not as direct. Like you'll say that there are problems, but you won't necessarily say what the problems are. It's the classic corporate technique. Refer to this thing as a problem. Don't say what the actual problem you're referring to is. Then
throw the word synergy in somewhere.
It's just like they did with, the whole Hearthstone casting Hong Kong situation, where it's just like they're never going to refer to that as that. They're just going to say there was a situation.
The Hong Kong situation.
No, they're not even going to say that. They're just going to
the situation.
Yeah, they're just going to refer to it as a what did they say? What did Blizzard say? I think they called it an esports situation, which is like, it was so bad.
That's about as vague as they can get.
Yeah. But yeah, so
don't worry about it. It's only an esports situation.
Yeah. I mean, that is the thing with this court situation, is that, we're actually going to see stuff. And then they had the thing that people then picked up on, which was funnier but less, like, interesting. And also, like, a total throwaway thing, was just like when they came to talk, when I don't know why they ended up talking about this in this battle, but they ended up talking about the banana from Fortnite,
Peely.
And it came up as a lawyer and the defendant or whatever actually had to, for a moment, discuss whether Peely was naked or not.
Right.
Because sometimes he wears clothes, but then on the base skin, he doesn't wear clothes. So does that mean he's actually naked, and therefore it's like a higher PG rating, whatever?
Okay, where is his face? He's called Peely. Is the face
On the peel.
on the skin, or is
So
it
does the peel count as clothes?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the face is on the skin. I don't think he's peeled very much, even though he is called Peely.
But what's wrong with
I
it?
didn't think this podcast would cover. The face is on the skin.
I mean, Bugs Bunny's naked.
What is the problem here? He's a banana.
Yeah.
Well, I think the implication is that because in some versions he wears clothes.
He's a banana with style.
That's just dumb.
Yes, I mean
Why does it matter?
Well, I mean, why does it matter in
doesn't.
this court case? Like, how the hell did they come onto that topic from?
Is it like talking about like some kind of service guidelines or
Yeah,
something
like
from
there's-
Apple
like
to be
it's-
like, oh, you can't have this character because he's naked.
Yeah, because it's something like age rating thing.
But he's a banana. There must be like there must be a Peppa Pig or something like somewhere where like the characters aren't wearing pants.
Pants, yeah.
And it's just like, and it's like, yeah, but he's a pig, and pigs are always naked. And it's like, he's a banana!
I mean, probably on some level, that is a discussion that kind of has to happen in court. Like, you have to define these terms. That are, like, I'm sure there's precedent or whatever, because there always is. But, like, I'm sure someone somewhere needs, or just the judge needs reminding of the like way law works at a certain level.
So, some lawyer somewhere goes like, I refer you to the 1974 case of Tom versus Jerry.
Yeah, exactly.
Where both characters are butt naked and beating the crap out of each other in a domestic situation.
Although it definitely doesn't seem like that should have been relevant at this point in this court proceeding. We don't need to get into... I mean, unless they were trying to immediately go to like, so what other parts of the user agreement has Epic broken?
Yeah, I think that must be it, right? There must be like... They must have a list of like everything they think they may have potentially broken. But then surely Apple... If that is what that is, surely that puts Apple under the microscope in the wrong way, because then they have to look at
everything ever on
yeah,
their store.
Surely there must be stuff on the like if that thing in particular about a banana being naked being a problem, a banana man, I guess. Not Banana Man, but a Banana Man.
Yes. Well, Banana Man was naked as well.
The Banana Man had a blue suit though, didn't he? Like actual Banana
But he
Man.
has a transformation sequence. Where does the suit come from? Where does his regular clothes go?
Oh no, is it like like a Sailor Moon transformation where they're all naked and outlined?
There's a naked for a moment.
Yeah. But yeah, if a banana man can be considered naked, what does that mean for anthropomorphic animals? Or like
there's got to be all kinds of them.
Or like an apple with just arms and legs just hanging out.
Yeah.
Is Fruit Ninja just a cavalcade of smut?
Yeah, but they're not anthropomorphic.
No, I guess not. They are just fruit.
They're just fruit. I don't think you can say an apple is just naked.
Is Sonic the Hedgehog naked?
I mean, no, he's got shoes and gloves on.
I assume Peely's wearing shoes even when he's...
I don't know what his bottom half looks like. I've only ever seen the top half.
It's pretty weird to be naked apart from shoes and gloves.
Yes, it is.
It's like
doesn't
opposite. No.
But I mean, that's grandfathered in by Mickey Mouse, right? You
Yeah,
can get away
true.
with that.
Mickey Mouse, yeah.
Mickey Mouse wear pants.
Sometimes.
When did he not wear pants? Yeah, he always had the red shorts on, right?
Well, I mean,
that's his classic Mouse, isn't it?
the top half, it still counts as being naked. And that's still a problem.
Doesn't it grandfathered in from like Felix the Cat or something?
Yeah, I guess. That would be a better example.
I mean, yeah, he was...
But he didn't wear anything.
No, he was
He
fine,
didn't
yeah.
even wear gloves or shoes.
Actually, what's
Did
the
he not
version
wear
of...
gloves?
Like,
Oh, he
isn't
didn't have
one of the epic... Sorry.
The epic Mickey you're thinking of.
Yeah, isn't one of the epic Mickey's totally naked?
Yeah, Oswald.
Yeah,
the other
that's
one.
it. That's it.
And then the other thing that I know even less about this lawsuit, but I heard in passing, is that they've basically sort of had to rope in like Microsoft and Nintendo. Like they've had to have representatives from Microsoft and Nintendo come in to sort of talk about
their
technologies, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe their terms of service.
Or that just to say that Microsoft and Nintendo don't care about the microtransactions being locked in or anything like that.
Yeah, or like how Fortnite works on their system or something.
Yeah.
I hear that's what I hear anyway, that the other companies have managed to get roped into this situation, which I'm sure they're real happy about.
I wonder if it's like just because like maybe someone wants to ask the question, so why aren't you suing them? And they're like, we don't care. Fortnite makes a shit ton of money on if as long as it's on our platform. We don't care, but
I think the reason I heard this talked about in terms of Microsoft in particular was that because this is a court situation and everything has to be very clearly defined. I think Epic was talking about Xbox, and then the judge was like, "So do you mean Xbox, the games console, or the company, or like?"
Oh, I see.
You have to be very specific about which Xbox you're talking about.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Do Microsoft take it? I guess they still do, right? That must be part of their TOCs to take some money out of.
I'm sure out of transactions.
Yeah, but maybe the cut's just not as insane, or maybe that's why they're being called up to be like, well, why haven't
what's
you
your
sued...
cut?
Yeah, why haven't you sued Microsoft because they're doing the same thing as Apple?
Yeah.
Or maybe they aren't. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe Microsoft allow it.
Who knows what's going to happen with this? But apparently, we're actually going to know something about it. That's maybe the important thing. Court transcripts and shit are going to be available.
It is fascinating. And it's like it's a bit like the Epic store, isn't it, really? Fortnite makes enough money that Epic can just sort of have fun with their cash to an extent. Like I know
fun of laws.
Yeah, I mean, I know in terms of the Epic store, it's like, okay, they're planning for it to be an epic long-term investment. So eventually the store will be a thing, which, jury's still out on that one.
Yeah.
But the court case, like, it seems like they really don't care whether or not they're on iOS or not. That was always my intention. It's like, let's just shake up the industry a bit.
Well, I mean, that's what they say. Where they're like, we want to make it better for everyone by getting rid of this thing that Apple does. All devs. Well, that was another bit of this story. I guess I'm just remembering bits of it, but like, it was sort of already known, but before. I think slightly before Epic did the thing that got them kicked off the Apple Store, changed to Fortnite or whatever, they'd formed there was this non-profit organization coalition that had formed of like devs, just like a bunch of random devs who were like, we don't like Apple's policy, and Epic was one of them. But then through the court proceedings, it's like, now we can look up the like legal information of this non-profit organization and see that Epic were the ones who made it. It's like that was part of the strategy. It wasn't just a coincidence. It was literally in the ramp up to this thing that they knew was going to screw them. They were like, let's get all these other devs on board so they can be on our side. Right.
Oh, yes, I heard it. It had a silly name, didn't it? There's this coalition or...
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I think I did hear about that.
But it is just when they came to that through the legal process, it's just like it did start to look a bit like these other devs were sort of just cannon fodder. Epic was just using them as a human shield essentially in this battle that they were about to have with Apple. So it's not painting a particularly good picture, but it's all corporate tactics, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, it's not like the little companies were suing as well. Surely they're not libeled out of this, or
no? They probably thought it was a perfectly innocent thing to get a better cut out of Apple.
Yeah,
in some way.
Oh yeah. If Epic are offering a cut as low as they are, like, I can wholeheartedly see the devs need a bit of incentive to perhaps go on Apple. So the Apple terms of service confused me a little bit, because like, what happens if I buy crypto on an iOS device? Is that an in-app purchase? Yeah. Does that cost me 30% to do that? Or what about investment apps? Like, what if I use Robinhood or whatever it is to buy some GameStop?
Well, they already have a middleman, there's already value being sent to them. So presumably it's just integrated if it is in the Apple one.
Yeah.
Like whatever they charge you probably includes the Apple cut.
Oh, I wonder if it's. Oh, I see what you mean. Like, I wonder if it's like, say, Coinbase, for instance. Certain transactions in and out of real money have a fee associated with them. So I wonder if they can only take a cut of the fee as opposed to the actual money.
Maybe.
Even so, that just muddies the whole thing, right? It's weird.
Yes, I mean, maybe they'll get to that in these court cases. Who knows? Who knows how much, like, how deep the rabbit hole will get on this, or whether the courts will just get bored and the judge will get super pissed and just dismiss the whole thing.
I'm just sort of imagining it now. Like, judge got bored, sort of wandered off. Came back after reset and said, fuck this shit. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. What else you got?
There's been some slight Smash Brothers rumors, I guess, in ahead of, because we still haven't heard any more characters for a while.
Is it Waluigi?
Well, that was one of the things where there was someone discovered this this recent and mysteriously like updated Waluigi render, which doesn't seem to be related to anything.
I mean, it's really odd, isn't it? Because it's not. I'm not sure it's in the Smash Bros. Style, is it? Like, because it's not. He's not got denim on. He's got like that weird plastic.
He's just. Well, they're not quite so denim as they used to be in Smash Bros. Now. It's not like brawl denim.
Right? Yeah, that was well denim.
But
Isn't it like a running
not
joke now that Waluigi isn't in Smash Brothers? They can't put him in
Yes.
at this point, can they?
I mean, that is pretty much the whole thing about Waluigi.
It's a massive troll. I mean, it's just Waluigi being Waluigi, really. He's fulfilling his actual goal.
Yes, he is a troll inherently. So there's that, but there's also the voice actors of Crash Bandicoot and the bad guy in Crash Bandicoot, whatever he's called, Neocortex. the voice actors of those two characters on Twitter were talking to each other in a not talking to each other way, a public talking to each other conversation about how they'd recently done some voice recording for an unspecified project that wasn't a Crash game.
Oh, okay.
So now everyone's like, "Oh, that might be Smash Brothers."
Oh, that would be. I'd be into that. Actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's real obvious.
Yeah.
That is just one of the characters that should probably turn up into Smash.
That would be interesting though, because is that. Who owns Crash? Activision, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so because Crash is on Switch, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Then in which case that's all right. I bet me was like, is that a Sony property?
That shouldn't necessarily mean anything either.
Well, I don't know. There's still that whole, if it's only a game that's been on a Sony console, Sony could quite rightly just be all like, yeah, you know what, like we're not.
Well, sure,
but then you got Metal Gear. Oh no, Metal Gear was on GameCube, right? So
technically, yes.
So yeah, I guess that's how that worked.
Final Fantasy
VII. Final Fantasy VII hadn't been on
anything
on a Nintendo platform, right? I mean, 7's been on PC and all kinds of other places, but 7's not been on a Nintendo platform, is it? Until relatively recently.
Yeah. Way after Cloud came out.
Yeah, way after he was in Smash. But
yeah, I'm even though Crash isn't a PlayStation character now, I think people still see him as one.
Yeah, he's definitely got that heritage.
And it would make sense to be like, if you've got Banjo from Microsoft, you might as well have Crash from Sony.
Yeah.
Even though neither of those are technically true, but
well, Banjo is, right? Banjo is definitely Microsoft. Now, yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. What? I mean, classic style. What moves would he really have other than his spinny?
I'm sure they could. I mean, he does occasionally have a bazooka type thing that fires the fruits, right? That's in the newer Crash games.
Oh, is it? Oh, I guess maybe Crash 4 adds some stuff that he could actually pull.
I think it was in one before that as well.
I mean, he's got a jet. He's got a jet ski?
He's got a jet ski type thing,
and a cart
and a jetpack for being in space at the end of one of those games.
Crash Team Racing, right? He's got a car.
I don't think that necessarily makes sense. Otherwise, you'd have Mario in a car.
Do you reckon his Smash Ball, or whatever it's called, like Ultimate Smash, Final Smash, that's it? Do you reckon his Final Smash is going to be like, oh, here comes all the other the other Smashers? Here come the other Bandicoots.
I mean, maybe. What else would... what is an even more signature move for him? He just dies a bunch. That's his final smash.
Just falls down a hole, but the hole lands on, instead of falling into an endless hole, he just lands on you.
Or just a bunch of crates. A bunch of crates fall on the enemy. That's pretty much just what Crash Bandicoot.
No, I bet that'll be his down B, right? He just magics a crate from somewhere to throw at someone.
Yeah. His whole moveset will be crate based.
There'll be some TNT. Maybe that's every now and then you pick up a TNT crate.
Well, it's like Peach, where you're just pulling crates out of the ground instead of turnips.
Yeah, it'll be something like that.
Probably. That kind of makes sense.
I'm okay for hearing that TNT noise though, because that's kind of cool. The like Crash TNT counter.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's Sony and it won't happen, but like, I don't know, Ratchet and Clank could be
there's another obvious one, yeah. But I mean, I don't know if that's. I mean, I was thinking about it where it's just like, at this point, we're definitely reaching the stage where the characters that are left to get into Smash Brothers are either ruled out by various things or like so obvious that you wouldn't even be surprised.
Too big to fail.
The only one that I thought of where I was still like, oh yeah, that's a really good idea, but it's no way that that's actually going to happen because it's actually too obscure. Unless Sakurai does his thing of like digging up a super obscure character for no reason. Like Ness or whatever. Well, I guess that wasn't that obscure, but relatively. I still want Earthworm Jim. He would make a brilliant Smash character. He has a perfectly great moveset for Smash.
Oh, it'd be amazing. But while we're on the subject of Earthworm Jim, is Earthworm Jim naked?
No, because it's the suit.
But he's like out of the
worm,
suit.
Right. He's the worm part of the suit is completely individual from the worm.
Yeah, there's periods of time where he is out of the suit, pretty much.
Yes, there is.
Can't have that on a Nintendo console.
I suppose if you want to get even more pedantic about it, it's like, do earthworms technically have genitals that could be considered offensive? Because, like, mammals, totally, obviously, like Mickey Mouse or whatever.
Yeah, dude, the asexual
bananas,
nature of earthworms.
Yeah, bananas, man. I guess you could argue about bananas being very phallic to start with. That probably doesn't help them.
Man, Earthworm Jim would be a great pick.
Yeah, he's basically got like a perfectly built-in moveset. So even like his guns are just like smash attacks in his game. Like they don't have very long range, even though they're technically guns.
There would be some really great, like, I don't know, like the assist trophies could be fun as well. Like just bring in Psychro or maybe just Psychro.
Well, I mean, then I was like, obviously his final smash has to be dropping a cow, right?
Yeah,
a cow just randomly has to fall on the enemy.
Or maybe you have to launch it at some point during the fight first.
Or like in from Jim the game, that's just his entrance animation. He launches the cow as part of his entrance animation,
I see.
And then at some point the cow comes down in his final smash. Cow launch.
Excellent.
It makes so much sense, but it's clearly way too obscure.
It's not nice. Well, modern day obscure, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, that's such a classic. They'll probably bring Mayor Hagar in before.
I don't know about that. And that's the other classic problem of like you obviously can't bring in anything from Marvel vs. Capcom.
I mean, you could.
But you can't really.
Jet Set Radio characters. I mean, it hasn't launched on a Nintendo platform. I don't think you can get the JSR remake on Switch, but...
Well, we already said that they should just clearly just put Lethal League in Latch for Smash.
Man, yeah. That would be good.
Or Switch for Smash.
Switch would be good, yeah. Bring Switch in.
He's not as good a character, though.
No.
But it's the name, that's the important.
Get the Switch on the Switch.
Yep.
I just want Strong Bad and the Homestar 1 or.
Yes, but that's the classic argument of like they're not actually video game characters.
Yeah, fair
they
enough.
do technically have a video game, just like Goku.
Yeah, I mean that's the main argument. Yeah, like
Fair
Goku
enough.
seems like it would be an obvious pick, but that's why he wouldn't be in it. Like Naruto, maybe you could easily throw like almost any big anime character in there and be like, yeah, they've had a billion video games, but hey, they're anime characters.
Yeah.
They're not video game characters.
And that's obviously like that's not the goal of Smash characters. I don't think, even though it's been getting away from that in some cases, like Byleth and Pyra and Mithra, I guess. It's normally, they're looking to include some historical context for their inclusions into Smash.
Ring Fit guy.
Wii Fit train. We already discussed this.
Yeah,
like,
I know,
why is it not a skin, or why was it not Ring Fit guy
but,
and Wii Fit?
But Ring Fit could have different moves, right? Like.
Yeah, but now we're getting into the other discussion of like, why doesn't everyone have Echo Fighters?
Oh yeah, that's the thing. But I think Ring Fit doesn't cover the same ground as Wii Fit. They are different. I mean, yeah, okay, the yoga moves are kind of like there might be a few of those, but like there's a. I don't remember anywhere in Wii Fit where I had to do a bow and arrow action, and it's like, well, I could just use the ring for that, and they could have that could be used like B projectile. Well, and then there's another projectile they could have, actually, because there's an action when you're moving around where you squeeze the ring in while you're running, and it shoots that air blast.
Yeah.
And his jump could just be like blasting the floor with it. It's like there's quite a few things they could actually do to make him a little distinct.
But it would have just been an Echo Fighter, still. Even with distinct moves, that's still allowed, apparently.
Sort of, yeah.
Especially if you happen to be Crom.
Yeah. Well, there's not many other like new Nintendo things they could throw in, really, is there? Like, he's the obvious pick if you want to throw in a new Nintendo thing.
Is he the obvious pick?
I mean, what other Nintendo things have they not covered?
Well, I'm not saying it has to be Nintendo. It's not,
I mean, yeah, if Nintendo wanted to go in-house and didn't want to throw in another Fire Emblem character.
Yeah, because hopefully they don't want to do that at this point.
Dear God, let's hope not.
Well, I mean, I was about to say you should just bring in they'll just bring in something else from the Mario universe, but we already got a Piranha Plant, so maybe not. Maybe they kind of ran out of ideas on that front already.
More Pokemon. Well,
that is the other. There was a brief like resurgence of rumors around. Oh yeah, that was actually part of the story. There was another. It was like an anti-rumor for Pokemon because someone. I don't know if they unearthed the files or heard about the recordings, but like there's
what in the Giga Leak or something? Or?
No, it's not related to that. But basically, the crowd chants in the background of Smash, because those are localized, the voice actors who do those haven't been called back for the localized countries, which rules out any Pokemon.
Yeah, because they're all different.
Because they're all localized for the language.
Interesting. Yeah. Huh. Does that mean like it has the weird effect where like if you're playing in French, for instance, the crowd that cheers on the Pokemon is a different crowd?
Yeah.
To the...
I mean, that used to be the case in the older games.
I mean, yeah, sometimes it used
more
to be
noticeably, in fact.
Yeah. That must be a little weird.
Although supposedly that doesn't entirely 100% rule it out, because for Pyra and Mithra, who in French, I believe, would have had a different phrasing.
Because maybe Pyra doesn't make sense in French, I guess, just being a fire thing.
Apparently that crowd chant in French was just recorded by the Japanese voice actors just speaking in French. So
I see.
It doesn't 100% rule it out.
Yeah. I mean, that's great in itself, right? Have the slightly English sounding.
I'm sure it wasn't that bad.
Smash news.
Yep. Or Smash not actually news yet.
I haven't played Smash in months, so it's going to be interesting.
So we're going to be doing that tonight, presumably.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to go back to it. Well, it'd be great, because like, I think there's been... Well, there's Pyra, Mithra, and I think there's one other character I haven't played as. Ever.
That you've somehow forgotten.
Oh, no, God, I think it might have been when... I don't know if I've played it much since Steve turned up. Or did I? I don't know. I've lost track.
I mean, you complained about how Steve is impossible.
I can't play as Steve.
Played Steve.
Yeah, I know I can't play as him. He's a nightmare. Steve.
Yeah,
okay. Here's a left field suggestion.
Right.
They'll figure out a way of making Death Stranding run on the Switch.
Why?
So they can throw in...
Yeah, but they don't have to make the game on the Switch. That's not part of this process. The game franchise does not have to be out on the Switch.
they'll just put the baby in. Not even Norman. Not even. Oh, I guess they'll have a problem putting Norman Reedus into Smash.
Yeah, they would.
That's not possible. They cannot put the bridge baby into Smash.
I mean, I'm still hoping and also fairly I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen that we've got to have Master Chief. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
I mean,
it seems too obvious, doesn't it?
One day it's got to happen, right?
I guess they're just waiting for Infinite. Maybe that's season 3 or something.
Is there going to be a season 3 of Smash characters? That's that's the thing. Whenever I see the thing where it's like, oh, there's 3 more blank slots because Nintendo accidentally already leaked that there was going to be 1 bonus character after the end of this battle pass or character pass, whatever. But whenever I see there's 3 slots, it's like, is there really? Or is there infinite slots? Is this just going to go on forever?
I mean, it could. I mean, it'll go on until they've got plans for another console, right?
Well,
because they're not going to put out another Smash.
Yeah, but I mean, we would have said the same thing about Splatoon, and eventually it'll run out.
Yeah, I don't know. Splatoon feels more like,
and also
they clearly weren't planning to infinitely expand that because they weren't ever charging you to expand that other than the solo content, and it's like. But
it also seems like Sakurai is definitely more of a creator controlling aspect to Smash. He might just be done. He might consider it done and not be it might not just be based on what the community and the financials say.
Yeah.
It might be partially his decision.
And as much as he clearly loves it, he has wanted to get out.
Yeah, he's done a lot of work.
Yeah.
And he's, you get tired of it eventually, even if you like it.
Grass is greener.
Although the other half of that, the alternate side of that argument is just but what else does he do?
What did he make back in the day? More Kirby games?
Yeah, I mean, that is the other angle that he has, but I don't think... I don't actually know if he's related to the modern Kirby any longer.
No, I doubt it. Not the last couple of iterations, but maybe not since, the clay one, or even the woolly one, maybe.
And I saw an incredibly brief, this is not Smash related, it's another random bit of news, but I saw an incredibly tiny headline that was rumours about Metroid Prime 4.
What?
And the quote that supposedly has come up from some Twitter somewhere is we're going light, not dark. Whatever that means.
Okay. That's probably good.
There's a third Samus that's
oh no, they're going to go back to Metroid Prime 2 with the light and dark, where we've already got Dark Samus, but now we're going to have another light Samus, except it's a separate entity light Samus rather than just light armor Samus.
Well, yeah, we weren't light Samus, we're neutral Samus.
Yeah.
But we didn't know.
But you get the light armor in 2, right?
Oh, I can't remember.
No, I didn't play too much. I don't think they were necessarily meaning light and dark in that context. I think they were meaning story. I think they were saying we're not going to make a dark, gritty Metroid Prime. We're going to make a regular ass Metroid.
Oh, I hope it's not LITE light.
No, I don't think it is.
We're making a tiny Metroid game, a crappy little one. It's not what anyone wants.
But there was a cliffhanger at the end of Metroid Prime 3, technically, that they maybe want to tie up.
They might not.
No, I mean they could easily not.
It's been long enough.
And as I've said several times about Metroid Prime 4, I'm really hoping to not see any Metroids or Phazon. Because I need to get away from this.
But it's called Prime.
Yes, that is the problem. Except, as I have also said...
And it's called Metroid.
Well, as I have also said, the trouble with that name is that it theoretically ties them to stuff, but it really shouldn't. They should be able to have Metroid not have Metroids.
Could they just call it Samus?
I mean,
or Bounty Hunter.
Yeah, but I'm you have to call it Metroid, but that doesn't have to mean the actual creature Metroids.
Or maybe you make it a bit like the disappearance of bees, where it's where have all the Metroids gone?
Well, the whole story of every one of those games is the number of times we've come down to the last Metroid, and then suddenly there's a bunch of them again. I guess that only happened twice technically, but
it's why are there so many Metroids here?
I mean, maybe they can just take this last game to just wrap it up. Wrap up the Metroid story, actually kill them off, or keep them forever.
Make the space pirates a proper the actual bad guy.
But they have always been the actual bad guy, kind of.
Yeah, but there's always something worse.
Well, there's always the commanders are worse. They're always technically space pirates under the command of another thing.
Because they just love to be subjugated.
But they did seem to be getting more independent in original Metroid Prime.
Yeah, true.
Ridley was just there as a weapon, almost. Not really. He was not really in command of anything.
Old Ridders.
Except I don't even remember, because, again, classic Metroid problems, I don't remember where exactly in the timeline that happens. I'm pretty sure Metroid Prime happens before Metroid 2.
Oh, what? Before the one they remade for 3DS?
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's before 2, and then Super is after 2.
Oh, is it?
Right?
So Super's actually after everything?
Yeah, I think Super is after everything except Fusion.
Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, Fusion might actually be after everything because it's weird.
Because you escape... Because when they redid Super into Zero Mission, where they explained the Zero suit, because you're taking off from Zebes as it's exploding, but you don't make it, and you get caught up in the explosion, and that fucks up your suit, and then you do Zero Mission, then Zero Suit Sadness. And then when you get the new suit, that gets fucked up by the Parasite X, or whatever it's called. And then in reality, the Parasite X thing is actually that is the end of the Metroid story in theory, because
you sort of merged with the Parasite.
Well, the lore is that the Metroids were actually created to fight Parasite X, because Parasite X is worse than Metroids. The Metroids were actually meant to help control the even worse thing.
Standard.
So that's how they need to wrap that up. I guess that's Metroid Prime 4 will bring back the Parasite X, and then whatever they called the Parasite version of Samus. I forget what that was called, because you just think it's called Dark Samus.
But it's not Dark Samus.
What the hell is that thing called? I think it's just called
X Samus.
I don't think it's called X Samus.
Samux.
No, I don't think it's that either.
Zamus.
But yes, the X Parasite version of Samus. I don't know what actually the story happens in.
I never
Fusion.
finished Fusion.
You blow up the space station, as is traditional. And maybe the parasite survives, and maybe it doesn't. So yeah, Metroid Prime 4. We may hear something about that, apparently, if we're getting these kind of tiny leaks starting to appear. I mean, you would hope we would hear something about it.
I know, yeah.
It's about time.
Definitely.
It is about time. But then also, Bayonetta 3.
Yes, I guess. Although that's not really Nintendo's fault as much. Probably.
Well, we don't know. Yeah. It's Nintendo publishing, isn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not saying that I'm saying that it's probably not Nintendo holding back a reveal for their press conference in that case.
Well, no. Unless Platinum really aren't as far along with development of that, with whatever the hell else they're up to.
Yeah.
The occasionally rumoured return of Scalebound.
Yep. To a Nintendo platform.
Yeah.
I think that's probably news, isn't it? We didn't say anything else.
Indeed, it is time for what you've been playing. I guess we've had a few weeks, so Zach, you better go.
Yeah, you'd be glad to hear I've only played 2 things.
Okay.
Well, technically 3, I suppose.
So a lot of these 2 things.
Yeah, a lot of these 2 things. One of which, well, I guess both of which we don't really need to talk about that much even. So the first one was Minecraft. I got back into the mod packs and actually played 2 different mod packs, alternated back and forth between them depending on which one I was feeling more on a given day.
So are these completely separate mod packs, or are they some of these mod packs that sort of still blend?
Well, they still have some of the same mods in them.
Yeah,
yes,
that's what I thought. Yeah.
They play quite differently because one of them is another Skyblock-esque one, and one of them is more like normal Minecraft world.
Okay, yeah.
Ground.
Dirtcraft.
Yep. Blockcraft. Not Skyblock. It doesn't block.
Dirt block. Yeah, dirt block. Ken block.
I think Well, stone block is a different one.
Oh.
It's like skyblock, except the entire world is stone instead of being in nothing. But yeah, I played another version of skyblock, which was based around it's not really based around. It tries to integrate the old equivalent exchange mod, which is now called Project E, which is that weird mod where like every resource has an energy value, and you convert objects into energy, and then you can turn them back basically. So you can take like 1,000 cobblestone and then just turn that into 1 diamond or whatever, because it has the same energy value.
Oh, I see. Right.
That's what the Project E is about. That's an old school mod though. But so this version of Skyblock is sort of designed to, because the problem with Project E and old equivalent exchange is that it's incredibly overpowered, obviously. If you can make anything out of just energy, then it's and also in the old versions of equivalent exchange, it had like, you didn't just use matter and convert it into energy and then convert it back. You had like straight up energy generators where they just made energy over time, and then you could just make matter out of that.
Okay.
Which then just becomes incredibly overpowered very quickly.
It's not really equivalent at that point.
No.
Basic rule of alchemy.
But yeah, so this skyblock thing tries to sort of have everything revolve around the equivalent exchange, but it introduces a lot of limits on how much you can actually do. So you can't equivalent exchange every type of resource. You can only do like the very basic ones, and then you still have to build the other mods automation stuff to filter down into the equivalent exchange resources you can actually do the conversion in.
Oh, I see. Weird. So there's a number of like base points, I guess, that you can exchange between, but you have to break everything down to those base points and then build it back up.
It's like you can use the equivalent exchange to get iron, but you can't use it to get steel. So you still have to use the iron and the coal that you can create out of the energy to turn into steel.
Interesting.
To do other things with.
It's like an elemental exchange, like for some definition of elements in Minecraft. Yeah.
There is another version of that, of Skyblock with equivalent exchange, that is like literally elements, where they just put the periodic table into Minecraft.
Okay.
And you can just like take hydrogen out of the matter exchanger.
And then feed it into space chem or something to turn it into something else.
I didn't get very far in that one. And then the other one I've been playing, the more traditional one, is another attempt at making a sort of a tech tree progression style, where you start in like prehistoric and then work through the industrial age or whatever. Which is much more simplified because it only uses like really one mod for each of the ages, essentially.
Interesting.
So I've got to sort of the early industrial age where it's using immersive engineering is the mod, where it's like conveyor belts and like large machines before everything just turns into one block machines like traditional.
Right. So what happens when it converts then? Like, do you lose access to that other mod, or
no? It's again,
does it just become like irrelevant?
Well, yeah, it's still the same sort of thing as the equivalent exchange thing, where it's just like it takes a lot of effort to get your first piece of steel, but then by the end of the immersive engineering tree, you can manufacture steel through all those machines like quite quickly, so it's not so much of an effort.
So you have it all,
and then you use that steel into the next stage, but you're using way more steel in that next stage than you would otherwise. That kind of thing. It's gated by inconvenience. And well, yeah, literally unlock. Well, no, I guess there aren't unlocks, because some of the other versions of that concept I played do literally have unlocks, which like you literally wouldn't be able to craft the thing even if you have the materials.
Okay, yeah.
Whereas in this one, it's just like they've just modified some of the recipes in each of the mods to basically interlink. So it's like you need a resource that would normally only appear in this mod to go into that other mod.
I see. Yeah.
So yeah, I did quite a bit of that. And the immersive engineering thing is also paired with another really old mod that I was familiar with, the forestry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you've talked about that before.
Automating tree farms, except actually what forestry is about is breeding bees. It's all about bees.
I do remember the bees.
Lots of bees. So I was like, oh yeah, I remember how this works, except it's actually slightly easier now. Because actually forestry was such an old mod that did have to get redone even in like the 1.12 versions.
I was about to say, like, okay, because they would have had to done work just to get it to work in current Minecraft.
Yeah,
right?
This isn't current Minecraft though.
Oh.
This is still 1.12 Minecraft, but forestry is like even older than that.
Right.
Forestry is from the same age as like Buildcraft, like the original versions of that idea. But yeah, it's slightly easier now, mainly because you can just see how the bees breed. Like it's just you just basically have a recipe book where it's like breed this bee with this bee and you'll get this bee, and it's like it's not hidden information any longer. Or look it up on a wiki.
Do you want to see the bees breed? Do you want it? This is why it's not on the Switch.
This is why it's not on Apple.
Yeah, this is why you can't get these mods on iOS. You can see the bees breed.
They're all naked.
They are all naked.
Oh no, I guess the queens actually have little crowns.
No.
So they're technically not naked.
Oh no, but does that make it worse? Because they've introduced
because they sometimes have clothes.
Yeah, because they've introduced the idea of clothing to bees. Does that mean that the idea of nakedness as a concept is now added?
So yeah, that's Minecraft.
That was that sort of classic Simpsons the other day. There's a joke where the kids, aren't they, Bart and Milhouse, it's like, oh, it's a beautiful day, the birds are out, bees are having sex with them, such is my understanding.
Yeah.
Such is my understanding.
Yeah.
And then the other main thing that I played, which Rob helpfully referenced in the test recording at the start of this podcast, Get Hyped for Town.
Get Hyped for Town?
I went way back and played...
Banished?
Yeah, played Banished.
What?
Well,
that's a classic video on the Happy Salad.
Yeah, it is a classic video.
Yeah, it's where Get Hyped for Town comes from.
Until they started making, what was it?
Until they made that game that was...
Project Town or something. Until it became...
was once called Town.
Until it became Little Town Hero.
Yeah. And then we weren't hyped for Town.
No, we weren't hyped for Town.
But yeah, I went back to play Banished randomly. I was in a mood for a city building-esque thing. And originally I was just going to play City Skylines because, that is the one.
That's the one.
And I was like, let's just go and play let's go old school and play Banished. And according to the save files, I hadn't played it since 2015.
Vintage.
Because the save files still were in the save folder, apparently. Wherever they were secreted in my documents.
I know what the word secreted means, but it's just like whenever someone says it, like I don't think about hiding something delicately.
You think about
like
secretions.
Just think about, it's just oozed out of you somewhere.
I mean, that is also a valid thing to say about save game files sometimes. They do just sort of appear.
They've oozed out of the software.
So yeah, I went back to that.
If you're like I know this isn't Banished, but if you're like a average guy like me or something that used to play SimCity, can you just pick up City Skylines and it's like that? Or
yeah,
assuming you played 4, right, and not 20 whatever it was, the crap last SimCity.
Well, you'd probably be okay coming from 3,000 and 2,000
to Skylines.
Does crap SimCity run well on a modern PC? Like,
by what definition of crap SimCity now, for SimCity 5?
Yeah, whatever the last one was, the one that killed Maxis.
I don't know how well that runs. I haven't tried it.
Like, because the problem with that, like, the simulation was just a bit hardcore.
Yeah, well, and the whole server thing.
Oh, that,
and the way the trading between cities work, and all the bugs that I discovered.
I take it back. Let's not talk about that.
No, let's.
Yeah, City Skylines.
But yeah, City Skylines should be totally fine for anyone who's played any SimCity, pretty much. Also, because City Skylines I suppose it's not like SimCity didn't have a tech tree essentially unlocks over time, but City Skylines has a more like tutorial oriented version of that, where it's like you can only do certain things at this point in the game,
like milestones.
Yeah, milestones is what they are. It's like you don't get a police station until you've got a certain amount of population, so you don't even worry about it.
Right.
Well, that's quite good. Yeah, I think because it's a bit of work.
Don't waste your money on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went Banished. Sorry.
I went back to Banished, and initially I was just going to, play some Banished just a little bit, and I also went to the Steam Workshop and looked at what mods I still had subscribed because they were still there. I was like, oh yeah, I remember these mods that make. I didn't really have any, massive overhaul type things. I just had little tiny adjustments, like instead of stock files where everything just gets chucked in one big pile, I've got the mod where you can have individual stock files for wood and iron, or the various resources that go in stock files. So I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. So I went in there and played some of that, but then I remembered that much like Factorio, Banished had one achievement I never got.
Oh no.
I was like, oh no. Then I remembered that, and I was like, and also like Factorio, can't do that with mods.
Right. So you got to play base.
You got to
Banished
play
try and
base
get it.
Banished. And then I was like, oh yeah, I remember why I didn't do this, because it's kind of dumb and ridiculous, and also is one of those achievements where it's like maybe the dev didn't fully think this through when they created this achievement.
Just like Panzer Dragoon remakes, like play for 100 hours when the game's like an hour long.
Yeah, maybe kind of similar, because there's achievements for like have 200 citizens, have like 600 citizens, have 900 citizens, and I already had all of those. And then but this achievement is for like have 500 citizens after 200 years.
Okay.
And you'd think, because you have the achievement for getting 900 citizens, that would be fine. Because it's like, obviously, if you get 900, getting 500 shouldn't be difficult.
No.
But the problem is that the 200 years part of that. Because, like, you can get 500 people by, like, 80.
Right. But you've got to try and just last that long?
Well, you just have to basically just sit there and do nothing for 120 years.
Oh, right. So if you cross the next threshold, it doesn't trigger the last?
No, it's just you have to have that many people in the town when 200 years hits.
You just have to play for 200 years.
Yeah, you just have to run the game for 200 years and have 500 people at that point.
Right, yeah, but you get there.
But because it's so easy to get that many people that early, you're just like, well, I just have to sit here.
Is there any draw for playing for a 200-year game? Is that the...
Well, the other trouble with it is you might then think, well, if you have the achievement for getting 900 people, why don't you just keep growing your town?
Mm.
But because the game starts to slow down, the more people you have,
oh, I see.
There's no reason for you to not have exactly 500 people for that whole period of like the extra 120 years you have to play.
Just leave it running and hope they don't kill themselves off like in Black and White. Or
Yes,
something.
but unfortunately, there's only so much that can be. Yep. There's only so much that can be like. You don't exactly call it automated. Those you can only like let the game run itself to a certain extent without you having to interact with it on a certain scale. Like there is technically ways to make every resource infinite, but it's not stable infinite. Like you can automate your trade depots so that every time the trader comes past, it automatically buys a certain amount of stuff, but unless you very precisely balance that number to be the exact amount of that stuff that you're using on a per year basis, you'll eventually just overfill your stockpiles and then it will jam up and you'll just die. So you can't just totally like AFK this game at that point. You still have to like interact with it to just like fiddle with these little imbalances and keep everything balanced for 120 years.
Jeez. That sounds pretty tedious.
Luckily, because previously I had been trying to get this achievement, I had a save of my last attempt that was like year 130.
Oh, okay. So
I was like, that's at least saved me at least 50 years from the point where I would have had 500 people.
Fair enough.
And then I was like, well, maybe I'll just listen to a podcast or something.
Leave this running and just look at it occasionally.
Yeah, I can keep enough of an eye on it without having to concentrate.
I'll play something on the Switch whilst listening to a podcast.
Yep, I also did that.
Yeah.
I was like, I played a little random bit of what's it called? Cadence of Hyrule.
Oh, cool.
Played a little bit. Well, although I found that actually too much concentration, even for the AFK-ness in Banished.
Oh, right.
Looking at the Switch and then having to constantly get in and out of the rhythm.
Have you opted into the DLC in Cadence?
No.
Or?
I mean,
I say opted in. Thought.
No, I didn't. I mean, there was that little mini, like the free part of that. I forget what they added. It was like I think they did add one more character, I think, even in the base game.
Oh right, what, for free?
Yeah,
was it the Bard equivalent though, where like the rhythm you play the rhythm? Oh no, that was just
that's
an
a mode.
Yeah, that was
you
just
can turn that on. Yeah, there was another character. I don't remember. I didn't try it or see where that was. I didn't see it in the menu because I started a new game and it just does the normal sequence. I'm sure it's a special option somewhere. And then the last thing that I played very briefly, because now we're going to play it more maybe, because Deep Rock Galactic was on sale, so now we actually have that, not just a free weekend.
I enjoyed our time with the free weekend, so I've gone in with you. I'm kind of looking forward to that. It was good fun. Rock and Stone.
We'll see how it goes with just the two of us for a while.
Yeah, I suppose we should have poked Kippers.
Yeah, maybe.
Has he been online? Is it still on sale? Poke him.
No, it's not any longer.
Son.
I caught you. Well, when I said it was on sale for like the next few hours, I literally meant the next few hours.
Oh, okay, balls.
But yeah, we got in on that. I mean, I can probably convince at least one other person to join us, maybe from the ISC side.
Maybe get your PC sorted out, Dan, and join us. It's a bit Left 4 Dead-y, I guess.
Yes, but the problem for Dan is less the PC situation and more of can he control it?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Because it's an FPS and he's still adapting to left-handedness.
Yes, I haven't actually. Yeah, I mean, I could just about do Deus Ex.
it's got controller support. We play it that way.
Oh yeah, I guess it.
Oh, that.
And now, actually, in the last patch, they've allowed you to rebind the controls on controller, so it actually has proper controller support now.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's not a bad option.
But yeah, so we'll probably play more of that. But I went back in briefly and continued, I guess. I'm still trying to work out whether we're going to run into the Left 4 Dead situation of the difficulty level going too abruptly.
Right.
Where it's like, this side is too easy, this side is too hard.
And yeah, for two people, that's just insurmountable.
I think we'll probably be okay on difficulty 3, because we've only been doing difficulty 2, and that's actually quite easy.
Yeah. And I guess we could actually start joining randoms.
Yeah. Although I was kind of confused about like how exactly that works. Because
I mean, it's entirely lobby based, right? We'd have to just let people.
Well, it's not though, because there is a server browser, so you can actually see a straight list. You don't just randomly join. You can pick from the list, and then when you in like your option menu, you have like enter your server name, and there's also a toggle for like locked classes, so it'll only let people in if the class is free.
Oh, I see. Right.
So it will lock you out of having all 4 of the same class or whatever.
Oh, I didn't even realize that was a thing. I thought you had to. Oh, no, it's good. I thought you had to play individual classes,
but
no,
judging by the server list, like that's probably the minority that turned that on. Like most servers seem to have the just whatever class just come in. I
hope that is like some game needs to add that, like the whatever class.
I did see a server that just had like 4 drillers.
Oh God,
it was probably pretty funny, but
they can't really get around, can they?
Well, apart from they can just drill through the walls.
Well,
they don't have to get around; they just dig straight to the objective.
Yeah, except when there's like no wall, right? I guess they just dig a spiral up into the void.
That's the helpful thing about the driller. You have infinite space to work with, technically. Or not really infinite, I'm sure there is a limit.
I mean, there's been plenty of times where I've done that, where it's like you can just grapple somewhere, and it's like, well, I could build a platform staircase here, but no, I'm actually going to just pickaxe a staircase into this wall.
Yeah, that is kind of the tactic when you don't have the platform class or whatever.
I mean, it's kind of cool that the game lets you do that. You can just sculpt your way into the level,
and that is sort of one of the benefits of the driller. Like people don't like the driller generally because, well, mainly because he's kind of stuck with like bad guns because his main weapon is a flamethrower.
In fairness, I'm not too fond of the shotgun, like on the whatever guy. Is he the
engineer?
Engineer, yeah. It's not that effective unless the things are right in your face.
Well, I mean, it is literally a shotgun in that case. But yeah, I don't know. The driller,
and the grenade launcher's not got enough ammo to be useful all that much.
True, but the driller, it's a class that people naturally gravitate away from. If you could say that, that doesn't really make sense. But okay,
anti-gravitate.
Yeah, people that just see it and think that it's the dumb class, and then don't play it. But I think it is probably worthwhile. Significantly in some cases.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. If we do hit that insurmountable barrier, we can just start other classes.
Well, I mean, this whole game is not really made to have that kind of progression barrier at all. It's like everything from the start should be possible. There's only very minor unlocks and upgrades, really. And it's just scaling the difficulty level to your actual experience, not really your unlocks.
I mean, you are making your guns more powerful. But...
Yeah, a little bit, but it's not like super overwhelmingly noticeable. And then you get the weapon unlocks, but they're really just alternates rather than upgrades. Because I've unlocked a couple of those. I've unlocked them because I think you only get one, so it's only an alternate weapon for primary and secondary. So you might be able to get rid of that shotgun and the grenade launcher. I don't know what the engineer's unlocks are though. The ones I've unlocked are for the gunner has like.
Well, there was like an SMG on my list. Like, I don't know if that unlocked it for the engineer or whatever.
Yeah, that might have been one of the other characters, possibly. Yeah. But the gunner has, instead of his minigun, he has what is basically the Titanfall equivalent. Like, imagine Titanfall, the minigun on the Titans.
Yeah.
Now imagine what the second version of that is that you unlock quite early in Titanfall.
Man, I can't remember.
It's like the high explosive
thing.
It's like the tank
cannon.
Oh
yeah,
esque.
I love
auto
that.
Cannon. Thing.
Yeah, that was the one. I mean, this is how much I remember Titanfall. Weirdly, like despite how much I love that game, and that was the weapon I used all the time.
That was the kind of obvious second weapon to go to in Titanfall. So yeah, he has basically that. It's like an auto cannon that has like sort of small explosions instead of the minigun, and it's still rapid fire and fairly inaccurate. But the explosion splash damage kind of deals with that.
Did you hear about like Titanfall 2 had a odd resurgence? Recently.
Well, it's because it was on a free weekend on Steam.
Oh, right. So it drew a lot of people in.
That was probably partially why.
I wonder if that stayed active after that.
Yeah, maybe for a while.
And Titanfall 2 is a great game.
Yep.
And even though the multiplayer I don't think hit as hard as the first. Just because it wasn't as unique.
Well, and
it still played brilliantly.
Well, the thing I always thought about Titanfall 2, even though I didn't play it, was like it got too complicated. I liked it when it was just simpler.
Oh, what, you just preferred attrition?
Yeah,
like just run around shooting dudes.
Well, it's the same situation, almost the same thing as Splatoon, right? Just like Turf War. It's just like I don't need fancy modes. I don't need extra complicated moves like the grapple hook or all that, or like the boarding Titan to pull out power cores thing. Right. Like I don't need any of that. I just want the straight gameplay.
I don't know, the modes were decent in 2. They were refined in a way that were great. Like, I sort of agree with you in the first one.
Yeah.
And, I wasn't a big fan of the Titan-only mode, or whatever that was.
No.
But Titanfall 2, damn decent game. Where the hell's Titanfall 3?
Yeah, they said they weren't making it.
I know. Damn you, Apex Legends.
And then I guess the other gun that I unlocked was for the Scout, because you have a little SMG as the Scout as your default gun, but the one I unlocked is the M1, basically.
Oh, what, with like a ping?
Yeah, supposedly. I haven't heard it yet because I haven't used it.
Oh, man.
It's called the M1000. But
it's the gun of gods.
But supposedly it has like a charge mechanism as well in this version. Like you can fire it like the regular M1 hip shot. It just like fires the clip and then pings, presumably. But supposedly if you hold down the button, you do like a focus shot that's better for weak points. So it like charges. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure if that will be...
Maybe that makes a really big ping. Pong!
Or it just dumps the whole clip at once.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes next time we play, because I'm playing the Scout with Rob. He's playing the Engineer.
Mm-hmm. I'm making a platform.
And turrets.
And turrets.
Which definitely helps with low numbers of people.
Yeah.
Because playing it single player, also, you have that robot that follows you around. I don't know why they wouldn't allow that in, like, 2-player, maybe.
We'll have one robot join.
Yeah, one robot along with the 2 people. But then again, even in single player, that robot sometimes feels kind of overpowered. Where it's like, I'm almost not doing any of the fighting. Except when there's a lot of enemies. It can't really it can handle the roaming single like little groups that you get as you explore, but maybe not the waves.
The horde equivalent,
yeah,
whatever it's called. Swarms.
So I did eventually in solo turn it up to difficulty 3 as well to see if I could manage that by myself. I mean, I'm sure it scales to the number of players anyway, so that won't be the same as in... But as soon as I turned it up to that level, it was like, oh, now I'm getting the more specialised enemies. It's not just all the generics. Get that enemy. The enemy that we did see one of.
The healer.
The healer.
Yeah.
That buffs the other enemies.
Yeah, because we saw that and we're like, ooh.
And some of the...
We've not seen that before.
Some of the bigger, like, tank enemies as well. The fully armoured ones.
Right.
Although those, of course, really suck to fight in single player because
you
can't really get behind them.
Yeah, you need to reveal the back.
So we'll probably play more of that soon.
Yeah, it's good fun. And the dedicated shout, rock, and stone button, always appreciated.
Or just cough.
Or just when you're in the lobby, you can just
That's
cough.
not the same button. That's actually a different button.
Well, yeah, it's because it would normally be, "Hey, come here," or something. The shout button. It's like, but we're in the lobby, you just cough or burp or something. And you can buy beers.
Yep.
You can have drunk dwarfs. And there's a barrel kicking game that's actually kind of fun for how simple it is. I think Rock Galactic's good.
Yep.
And surprisingly value for money, really. Even on sale, even not on sale, it's only like 20 quid, something like that.
Yeah. And they've definitely been doing a good job with the updates. Supposedly the next update might actually be kind of important. Well, the next update is mainly going to be for mods, I hear. They're
Right.
Oh, okay.
They're going to introduce modding more legitimately than it has been.
Interesting.
I mean, it's interesting because even in this patch that we're on right now, that patch included save files, basically.
Oh, right. So they can. So when you do modding,
you can have a separate character, essentially.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm not how that will lock your progress to the mods, because presumably it's an online multiplayer game, they'll have to do some version matching or something, I guess.
Or maybe it only works in private lobbies.
Well, maybe it's friends only or something like that.
Yeah.
But the next big patch is supposedly modding, but I think they're also intending to do a fairly significant content drop as well with that, or maybe the next patch. Don't know what that actually means. I think they've definitely teased some more enemy types. So
always good,
even beyond the ones that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like there's still a whole lot. I mean, I don't know how true it is, but where I've seen anyway, it still feels like there's a whole lot more to discover.
I think we've coincidentally ended up in the same environments a lot.
Right.
We haven't really been into all of the environments, I don't think, yet.
Is that just because we're limited on what we can pick for me currently? Because I haven't got all the areas, the physical areas.
I think you do now, because you finished the first assignment, that really long one, right? Because now you're on the gun
tutorial one.
Yeah, the tutorial assignment. I think you do have access to all the areas.
I thought there were a couple of spots I couldn't get to.
But it does the rolling. It's on a timer. It unlocks different areas on a loop.
Splatoon.
Yeah, Splatoon style. Except it's not 2. It's most of them.
I see.
More than half of them.
Yeah, because there were 3 maybe locked out.
But I think we've just coincidentally every time, because we've still been doing the whatever mission we need to do to progress the assignments, obviously, because why wouldn't you? But I think we've just coincidentally always ended up in mostly the same environments. I've mainly been, on my solo character, I've mainly been doing the ice environment whenever it's available, mainly because I need the special material that spawns there for the upgrades.
Yeast cones?
No, not the plants, the special metal materials.
Cucumbers?
No, yes. I was about to say no, but yes.
Actually, the cucumber.
That's what we call them.
Because they look a bit like a cucumber.
Because they look like a cucumber, but it's actually a type of mineral.
Yeast cones.
Yep, yeast cones.
I mean, that game's been hilarious even when we've failed to run. When we've spent ages. That really awkward one when none of us could find the way back.
Even though we should have just followed the really obvious breadcrumb trail, but
we didn't. And we all got lost. And then we all died. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
It was a really long damn mission as well.
Well, they all are, really.
Yeah.
I mean, admittedly, you can probably speedrun some of those mission types quite quickly. Like the one that we just did last night.
Oh, yeah, when it's all sort of localized in a single area.
You just have to bring 7 of those things into the middle. You can probably do that in 10 minutes.
Well, you're not traveling very far. Yeah. I mean, the classic mule one, I could imagine some of the generation being really bloody awkward.
Yeah, the deeper caves, when it's the cave complexity is high.
Yeah.
That rating that's separate from the difficulty and the hazard rating.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, Derg.
Yep.
Recommend. And we're only scratching it's not really scratching the surface.
We're scratching the middle.
We're only scratching underneath the...
We're scratching the undercrust.
Lovely phrasing.
Yep.
long as there's no secretions.
Well, there are quite a lot of secretions in fact,
Secreted
from all these
in the
enemies.
undercrust. Yeah. All right, Rob, what have you been playing, man?
In the time that you had to be able to play.
Yeah,
things.
Assuming
honestly,
you
not
had
a
any
huge-
time. Yeah.
Yeah, not a huge amount.
enough.
I basically just spent the little pockets of time I had leading up to the move getting sucked into FF12 still. It's like,
Well, I mean, that is kind of a relaxed game.
yeah, it's like I didn't, because I fell into the grind, basically. I fell into the classic Final Fantasy grind because I hit I sort of hit a section in the story. I was sort of mainlining it, and then I sort of hit a section in the story where there's a bit where you just enemies are swarming you at all times, and it did the thing that I find mildly annoying with this, where it's like you're supposed to run,
Right.
and FF12 is like the first when it tells you about the run mechanic, it basically does say, yeah, there will be times where you need to do this. But then, of course, when you get to those moments, it's not clear that that's the appropriate strategy until you've probably died a couple times.
Yeah.
So there's this one bit where basically enemies just kept spawning in faster than I could kill them, and they were hardy enough that they were a problem. And it's like, okay, I'm not quite sure if I'm under-leveled or if this is intended to be a running sequence. But, it was sort of borderline. It was
Right.
really awkwardly borderline. And so then I went off and I tried to do, okay, look, I've got a couple of side quests I need to do. I've got a couple of big enemies that are on my hunt list. And it's like, let's go have a stab at those. Just wiped the floor with me. And I'm like,
Right.
but these are right at the top of the list. These are the rank 1 hunts. Am I supposed to be way higher level to deal with these right now? So I sunk into the grind and just spent some time doing that. And because it's kind of easy to do that, right? Like if you enter into an area where your levels are sort of similar to the bad guys, and you set up your gambits right.
Yep. You don't need to do almost anything.
Exactly. Yeah. You just let the gambit system take care of it. And because you're leveling up, and every time you kill something, you gain license points. You can then put those license points into opening up more gambit slots. So I'm building up a bigger list of automatic commands, and the sort of the bigger hurdle I'm running into is I haven't found places to buy the magic.
Gambits.
And there's, I think as far as I can tell, every gambit store you come across sells every single type of gambit. Like you're not limited to finding the gambits. It's like, yeah, they cost a bit of money, but they're not expensive. So you can build up your list like that. I have come across the problem where there just doesn't appear to be gambits to do what I want to do. I can't program it as well as I would like to, which is probably intentional. There might be things where it's like, hey, it wants you to actually take control.
Yeah, probably.
Little things so one of the weapons I came across is a healing rod, and it's a physical weapon that my white mage can wield. But you have to hit someone with it. Yeah,
That's a classic.
But it does damage when you hit them, and then imbues them with regen.
Oh, okay, that's not exactly how it works in old photos.
So but as an item, it's pretty useful.
Yeah.
But
you can't just tell your team to attack allies.
No, because she'd do it all the time.
Oh, right.
And she'd do it stronger than the regen's worth. So it's like, I can't. So that's going to have to be a manual thing. I'll just have to use it when I want. And there's little things so I've started refining things I had, if you put buffs, for instance, on a character, you just say, oh, on an ally, cast this buff. It's like, you don't necessarily want that because they will cast it as soon as the buff runs out. So you're always buffed. So you might want to tie it to, if you've entered a fight and there's you use the gambit, there's a foe or something.
Right.
And then, or if there's it words it really. It'll be ally : there's 2 or more foes present, something like that, and then use this spell. And you can use that to sort of be okay, I've got into a fight with multiple things, get all your buffs out,
right,
kind of thing. So you're not burning magic points all the time. The game's pretty lenient with magic points. You do recover them over time just by wandering around. And every time you hit a save point, you get all of them back. But you can run out. That is a thing, and it is a problem. My white mage has a move called Charge, which will sit there for a bit and go, and then gain about 30 magic points. So I could sort of keep her going, but it costs time.
Can you I guess not in this game because that's not how this works. But you can't just job spec everyone into all the jobs and just have everyone get that move.
No, so there's a limit. There are, so it limits you to. So if a character is already in that job, I don't think you could put another character into that job.
So you can only have one of each at a time.
Yeah, but so as far as I can, there are 6 main characters, and I don't think there's room for any more because you eventually earn the ability to give everyone a second job.
Yeah,
which is new to the Zodiac Age. That wasn't in the original. And when you do that, like obviously now I've got all 12 jobs filled.
As secondaries.
Yeah. So they don't really count as primary, secondary. You just have both.
Right.
So yeah, now I've got the whole list filled. It's like if there are any more main characters, and it's like, how does that work? Do I then start being able to double up? And I'm not sure I found the optimum combo. Like there are certain things where it's like, hey, that my character, I want to make sure every character can actually has stuff to use their magic points with, but I'm not sure there are as many roles as there are. Like I'm not sure there's an even split.
Right.
Like maybe
physical and magical.
Yeah, and I might have just bollocks that up. Like that's that's entirely possible that I just did. So I've ended up with 2 characters that are basically really only useful at physical. And don't really, and they can learn abilities to be like, oh, I'll gain magic points when I kill stuff, and then I'm like, well, what am I going to use them on? There is like one move that I haven't, one technique that I haven't found the ability to buy that sounds like it might solve that problem because it can be like, well, it's called infuse, and it's basically effectively give your magic points to someone else.
Oh, right.
So that could be useful. But I haven't found where that is, and I could possibly gambit that up. Like, oh, if an ally's magic points falls below a certain level, then attempt to infuse them.
Yeah,
but then that could get weird because it's like, okay, what if someone who's doing the infuse then suddenly becomes the target of someone else's infuse? They end up with a weird back and forth infusion that's going to break the system. Or maybe I have to only have one infusion character in the party at any one time.
I mean, I assume from the way you're saying this that like they don't really retain skills after they change jobs. Like you can't learn a skill.
You keep them all. Oh, the system's really strange. Like maybe I should try and explain it. So, you need the license to use. You need to have earned the license through license points on a job board.
Yeah.
In order to earn the ability to use a magic or a technique or a weapon or an armor or accessories. That doesn't mean you have them. You have to buy the magicite for a specific spell, for instance. So even if you've learnt the license for Cura, you can't use Cura until you've bought Cura or you've found the magicite in the world. Same with the weapons. I can't use a katana until I've learnt, or a specific katana. I can't use let's take spears. I can't use a partisan until I've learnt spears too.
Right.
And I found the partisan. So it's a little bizarre like that. So you're not really, once you've learnt the license for something, you can use it as long as you've bought the thing or found the thing.
But then how's that linked to the jobs?
So the white mage, for instance, she only gets the license for cure. The other characters, if they don't have the license for cure, they can't use cure.
Right.
So the job is important in that respect.
But
rods are tied to a job.
But then what if you learn the license for cure and then switched her off of white mage?
You couldn't do that. Once you're on a job, you can't change jobs.
No, right. That's the actual key then.
Yeah. You can double stack the jobs, like I said. Like you get a secondary job, but they're not really primary, secondary. Everyone has 2 jobs,
right?
But as far as you can change them, but you have to visit a specific character, and I've not done that.
Right.
And I don't know how that works yet. I don't know if I have to. How does that work now? I filled the job list. I've not tried that because I'm kind of happy where things sit right now. Yeah, you might. Yeah, I don't know.
Because I mean, that is the obvious in like.
I think it resets the license.
Yeah, I wouldn't, judging by the way the rest of this system worked, that would make sense. But like, Brave Default and old Final Fantasy Tactics, you have a primary and secondary job, but what you actually have is like all these other extra skills from the other jobs that you've already been that you've learned that you can Well, not necessarily all of them, but especially passives usually.
Right, you retain them.
You retain those even regardless of what job you are.
I think what happens here is like, yeah, there are passives. So you can think like there are swiftness and things like that. There's like increase your action speed by 10%, or magic law, which just like increase your potency by some unknown number. It doesn't even tell you. It just says increase your potency, and there's ones for physical, and there's ones for potions. Make potions more effective. I think that means make potions effective if they're used on you, not if you use them. It's not clear. Or make remedy, like fix more things, like because remedy, that's another weird thing. Remedy is usually fix everything, right? In Final Fantasy,
yeah, mostly.
Whereas here, I think you have to learn remedy law in order for it to fix certain things. And and if it's like what I think it is, in that it affects you, like a remedy can fix you, then that's a hard thing to keep track of,
right? Because rather than global,
rather than you just having a character that can just throw out remedies and fix everyone.
Yeah, because I mean, when we did Final Fantasy VII, you have like Asuna, but that doesn't fix everything. You have the other types of cures that are not cures.
Yes, you can set up gambits for debuffs and things like that as well, and you can set up gambits for fixed things. Like, so I've got like, if you're silenced because that's really annoying, cast Vox on them to unsilence. Or if you could do that with an item as well, you could have like throw echo, or whatever it is, and echo someone so they don't have silence. But yeah, hey, once you've got the magic, you might as well use the magic. Classically, so all the systems are kind of interesting. I still think the story is naff. Like,
is it even making any more sense at this point?
I mean, kinda. That whole thing I said about the whole intro sequence being completely pointless. Yeah, of course it wasn't pointless. Like, characters aren't dead who you think are dead. Like,
all the conspiracy again, as always.
I mean, not really a conspiracy. There's a very obvious bad guy, or they're trying to paste him as a bad. He doesn't seem like, weirdly to me, from what I've seen of him, he doesn't obviously feel like the bad guy.
Right.
It's weird, but everyone is describing him as the bad guy, and like, so I don't really understand what's going on there. And there's now this interesting. I think there's hints of interesting stuff that maybe I've just not explored well yet, but they're hinting that, like, oh, hey, we might be able to recover Dalmasca from the Empire, right? And from the Arcadian Empire. But then if we do that, Arcadia and the other big nation, the other side of Ivalice, Rosaria, they're about to get into a massive fight and we'd be the battlefield. So maybe we don't actually want to free ourselves from Arcadia just yet, because maybe we want the fight to be pushed out of Dalmasca. It's weird, and like, that side is kind of interesting, but it feels, I don't know, I think the whole story is a bit unfocused. And Varn, the main character, seems to have had a weird change of heart but Varn's basically done nothing this entire time other than just tag along, and now he's all like, I want to achieve something.
I want to be the main character of this game.
Yeah, they suddenly have a sort of weird moment where he's like, I need to go find what I'm for, kind of thing. And it's like, well, yep, so do I guess. It's like, you seem kind of pointless right now, other than just hanging out.
As long as he doesn't turn out to be like an alien, like in Final Fantasy IX.
Well, there's a hint that there's more to him.
I'm sure there always is,
because he seems to know something, or he sees something that where it makes sense for one of the other characters to have seen. But why did Varn see it?
Oh no! Now we're getting into Final Fantasy VIII, where it's all memory loss and like remembering other people's timelines.
It'll be bloodlines. I'm calling it here. It'll be bloodlines, because there's a thing that, like, there's these things called the nethersites, like magic stones, effectively, that effectively suck up magic power from around them and then sort of explode,
right,
in a fancy cutscene. But in theory, they can only be used by people of the royal bloodline.
Oh, okay.
Or of the bloodline of the Dynast king. And so it seems pretty obvious that Varn must be of the bloodline,
because he did it once.
Well, he hasn't done it, but he's seeing the things that the person who is of the bloodline is seeing things.
Oh, okay.
So
he is going to do it.
Yeah, probably. He's probably going to win the game.
Yep.
But yeah, as a sort of like, I don't know, outsider looking in, you might think the grind is kind of dull, but you know what? It's been, like you said, been kind of relaxing just to wander around stabbing things.
Yeah.
until you get into a new area and suddenly the difficulty bumps up and you're like, okay, right,
rejigger all these orders.
yeah, I'm in a little bit of trouble here. Let's sort this out. And it's got a little less brown, but it was brown for a long time. It's now sort of green. I mean, what it calls a jungle, but it's actually just a weird cave. Like, I don't really understand. Like, I think everything's still a bit muted feeling, like color wise and palette wise, but at least it's less brown. Yeah, it's still a weird one, but I'm gonna stick with it. I'll keep going. I'm just trying to think what else. Really, I guess the only other thing I kind of wanted to talk about is I briefly toyed with this thing on Steam, which is free. You can all play it, but it's a sort of demo for an upcoming game called Unbeatable, which is kind of advertising itself as an anime RPG rhythm game. Well, it makes it sound like the fights you're going to have will be a rhythm game. And basically this is called Unbeatable White Label, is just a rhythm game. Like, it's just that part of it. Like, and I guess it's just like a trial for the system.
Right.
Because ultimately the rhythm game's really simple. It's a 2-button rhythm game. You've got like up and down, and that's kind of the only thing. But they confuse it a little bit with the visuals.
Right.
So, like, knowing if you knew the pattern like off by heart, you could do it like just like a rhythm game. You could close your eyes and just do it. But like they throw stuff at you from both directions, left and right. So using just up and down isn't necessarily so obvious sometimes. It throws me because I'm trying to push left and right sometimes.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't help that basically up is on one side of the controller and down is on the other side of the controller. So that's already mildly confusing. And then stuff's coming at you, yeah. And there are some things where it's like, okay, there's a mashy one. We've got to mash it for a while. There's one where you've got to hit it multiple times in rhythm, but the indicator for the rhythm is quite tiny compared to the size of the enemy. There are ones where you hit them once and then they'll change position, and then you've got to hit them exactly a beat later to hit them again. And that's not 100% clear. Like, there is an on-screen indicator, but it's not as clear as them just coming at you in a line. You see what I mean? Right. And then there's the anti thing where it's like a bit like Stepmania, I guess, where it's like, don't be here.
Right.
Like, you have to move away from it intentionally, which obviously throws you a little bit. You're like, oh, I've got to push the opposite to the thing. That's weird. But the music's in it's really good. Like, I think it's like a lot of it has been custom made for it, and it's it's decent. And the style is decent as well. It's going for that VHS feel, so everything's really scratchy, and it does really weird zooms on some of the hold notes. And
oh, cool!
But is there much indication of what like the actual rest of the game is going to look like? Are you playing the like rhythm game segments in between like a visual novel?
That's my worry, right? That it could end up being that. And there's when I played it, there's some stuff that like very badly broke. So I missed a story segment, for instance, because it just didn't function. So I quit out of it and then just went back to playing a rhythm game, and It didn't come up again. But this thing presents it as having like an intro, sort of like introspective about the main character, I guess. She's like, oh, this thing happened. And then you do the rhythm thing, and then sometimes you'll get a little weird cutaway that's like a slogan or something with a picture, like, to go with it. And that's the progression right now. But I think where he wants to get to is more of as I say, this big like RPG kind of thing, and the fights kind of happen around it, and there's a narrative with your band and things like that. There's hints of that in this. Like, the whole opening is like a narrative with your band that leads to the tutorial.
Right.
Which, by the way, is kind of bad. The tutorial's not great. Because the tutorial apparently is better if you pick a certain option in the vocal choice, like, or in the speech, I guess. Like, so it's like, if you pick "Go Easy on Me," then you'll get what makes more sense as a tutorial. Right.
Because I guess it's actually trying to be more of a tutorial in that case.
Yeah. Whereas I picked, I'm ready. Thinking that was like what the character was going to be,
right? And
it's like, and then while it did give me prompts, it didn't just flow very well to learn the game. But I think it's got promise, and it's free, so you might as well check it out. Get yourself a free rhythm game.
Well, a free part of a rhythm game, I guess.
Yeah, I had fun with it for a couple hours. Yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes. That's probably it. I can't really think of a great deal.
Now I guess you can go and play Friday Night Funkin'. That's also free.
Friday Night Funkin'. Yeah, I've heard about this. Like,
You heard about this from me on the last podcast.
yeah. Yeah.
If you're in a rhythm game mood.
And want that Stepmania vibe.
Yeah, well, more literally in that case.
Yeah.
Because the game you were talking about sounds more like One Finger Death Punch. Only a rhythm game.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. I guess it is pretty similar. Even in presentation, yeah.
Well, yeah, two sides coming at you.
And it's not nearly as cool as the Stickman fighting. Like,
No.
it's pretty simplistic right now, but I like the cut of its jib or whatever it is.
You like the cut of the rhythm game part, it's
Yeah.
Remains to be seen what anime bullshit happens otherwise.
It depends what kind of like anime it is, right? If it's like they lean into the bat shit, then that's fine. That's the kind of anime I want. And I guess while I was not playing rhythm games or games at all, really, like I mentioned it earlier, but I'm watching Evangelion,
Right.
which I'd never done before, and it's on Netflix in apparently in a decent form. Because like if you don't know, like Evangelion went through several revisions apparently, and it's really awkward if you go try and watch it now.
Mm.
Except the Netflix version is the revised version with like a nice flow to it. I mean, I guess this is. I don't know how early this is in the like anime mecca. Fairly early, I guess.
Yeah, pretty early, I think.
But it's yeah, it's pretty weird. But it's good. I hate the main character.
I think that may be intentional.
Shinji's an idiot, and like one of the characters keeps calling him an idiot, and she's not wrong. He's an absolute. He's really irritating.
He's a tool.
Yeah, kind of.
Also, literally, dum dum dum.
Well, yes,
Yes.
yeah, I think it's pretty cool. It's good, I want it to get to the existential stuff, though, right?
Yeah, but that only happens in like the last two episodes,
Yeah.
as usual.
And the film,
Oh wow, yeah.
which follows on afterwards. And maybe the other films. It's like that's where I get a bit lost. I think there's only one thing you need to watch after the series on Netflix, and then you're probably good. But there are other weird things. Like the film's literally called The End of Evangelion. Yeah, I don't know. Mild recommendation. I'm enjoying it. It's not as weird as Ra Zephon.
Really?
I mean, not many things are as weird as Ra Zephon in fairness.
I would have thought it was quite exactly the same, because that's the whole thing about Razef.
I mean,
it is basically just ripping off the whole story.
I mean, there's an awful lot of similarities, but if you would like, I don't know, like you and I, we went into Ra Zephon like first, and it's and it doesn't waste any time getting to the weird stuff.
Oh, okay.
Whereas this is quite.
Well, I suppose the weird
quite
stuff was a bit weirder.
Yeah.
But it's not like, well, I think Evangelion, from what I understand, is going to get there, but like it's fairly more explicit right at the start that like the enemies especially are weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that and there's a hint very early on that the mechas are weird.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't come up for ages.
Yeah.
Right? Because it focuses on Shinji being an idiot. Kind of thing. And it's like there's this one episode where, and I don't know if this is brilliant or terrible. I haven't made my mind up on it, but there's a shot basically at the end of this episode where Shinji's basically wanted to run away from the whole thing, and that's because that's a recurring theme.
Well, I mean, that's a classic protagonist in anime maneuver.
And it's a super recurring theme in this, and everyone has a go at him about it repeatedly. So he's and he decides to stay, and it just ends on a shot of him and the captain or whatever, like his mentor,
right? And
they're just staring at each other with cicadas like sound effects in the background, a little bit of heat haze, and there's just them standing looking at each other for probably 3 minutes.
Okay,
just a single shot. It's really weird and gets properly uncomfortable after a while, and then I think someone says welcome home, and that's the end of the episode. And
they turned up the drama slightly too far.
Yeah. it's just a kid who's an idiot. Like someone would be like, I'm sure she would be all like, I'm glad you're back, you're an idiot. it's a weird thing. But it's also like got a little bit of like he's the chosen one going
Well,
on.
probably because he is.
Yeah, but we don't know why yet or any of that. Like everyone's referring, we put all our hopes on you, and it's like, what? Why? Why did you put all our hopes on idiot kid? What's going on? I'm 2/3 through it, so it's like
Yeah, so you'll probably in like 2 or 3 more episodes. There'll be the flashback episode,
yeah.
and then you'll get into the end game.
I'm pretty certain the flashback episode is next. Actually, yeah. Reading the Netflix description. Yeah, it's kind of cool. I like Netflix and like the anime side of it. It's good.
Yeah, it's good that they pay attention to it.
Did I tell you? I must have mentioned it on the last podcast. That was like Attack on Titan wasn't the final season.
No, yeah.
Yeah, there was a final half season. Damn it! What have you been playing, Dad?
Yeah. Have you continued playing Mario?
No, I played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2, I guess.
Oh, excellent!
I mostly playing some of that. I played some more Wipeout. I played Rez a bit of that. Yeah.
Fabulous.
These are all games that are like the same as they were. I mean, some updates and stuff. Tony Hawk's is Tony Hawk's.
But now you can manual.
But yeah, you can revert and manual. Yeah. Although, yeah,
manual.
It's taking a while to get to the point where you can string it together, right? Where you are used to reverting and then into a manual and then onto the next thing and then off and then into another manual. And
do you still have to? I don't remember from that old, but like even in Tony Hawk's 1, you still have to upgrade your stats, right?
Yeah. That was important.
So like you need to upgrade your balance stat, and then you can manual everywhere.
That really helps.
Or your manual stat if it's separate.
Yeah.
Does it? Is the game rebalanced? Like so, combos or combo requirements, if there is such a thing, I don't know. But is the game balanced?
Score requirements.
To include the fact that you can now make bigger combos because of manuals.
I don't know because I don't remember what the score requirements were.
Would you even be able to
the
tell?
original game? I didn't even play.
It's just interesting.
Game.
Like, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I guess the question is like, does it feel like it's forcing you to manual?
Well, not in the early stages. I don't think. I think you can reach. You can't reach. You can reach the pro score, but maybe not the super score or whatever. But yeah. So yeah, I will carry on with that. I'll play some.
Presumably, there wouldn't be manual gaps in Tony Hawk 1 levels because the manual didn't exist.
No, I mean not set up for it. Yeah, but you can.
You can manual between things, but
it won't give you a gap. Yeah. I don't think they've added any gaps. The manual was in 2.
Oh, yeah, manual was in 2, but
and the revert was in 3.
Yeah, revert was 3. Yeah,
but they've got both. In 1, 2, and 1 and 2. Yeah, new levels, updated levels. Yeah, so that's cool.
It's a good looking game, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks good and it plays nice and smooth. I think in the PS5, patch can do 120 frames, which would be pretty nice.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I assume all the like stage animations are less jank than they were in Tony Hawk's 2. Like that helicopter taking off all the bull.
The bull.
Yeah. I like it. Still has the stupid flybys. When you go into the levels, showing you all the different things to look out for. Yeah.
Do I want it to be less jank?
That's the thing. It's like maybe it's a little too polished, but yeah, it works. Yeah, that's cool.
Wasn't there a I can't remember if it was confirmed or not, but isn't there a rumor flying around that they're actually going to make another Tony Hawk's game, like maybe a 6?
I mean, it was a disaster before, but this went well. So they just
it's a different team, isn't it? Like 1+2 is a different team that made 5.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could argue that remakes is a whole different thing anyway.
Well, true.
Not the same as making a new game.
But I guess the difference is because I was about to say like this time they've done 1 and 2, so they know what they're doing, right? Like, but then that kind of happened with the last one because they did that Tony Hawk's HD thing and then made 5.
Right.
So they should have known what they were doing.
Yeah, but Tony Hawk's H2 wasn't as good as this, right?
No,
No.
that wasn't even a good remake.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe this will be like Sonic Mania, where the guys, figured out how to perfectly remake the original, so now can make an original game.
But they don't have the licensing on it, right? Tony Hawk's is out.
Yeah.
Is he?
I think so. That wasn't 5 meant to be the last one of his contract.
Well, it depends what kind of contract they offered.
Well,
A new contract.
Well, sure. But I think that was meant to be the last one.
Money.
I mean, he's definitely
honestly,
in this
why
one,
is it still Tony Hawk at this point?
I mean, because there's never been a bigger name in skateboarding, even now.
But no modern child is going to know his name apart from the game.
From the game,
So,
just enough. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
I think up until fairly recently, he was still competing, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, he's retired now, I think, isn't he? I think it was, yeah.
I mean, yeah, he still does a lot of work for the quote unquote the sport.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think, I don't know if you keep on calling it Tony Hawk, though.
What, just call it Pro Skater?
I mean, that would have made more sense if you'd done that sooner. If Pro Skater was the brand, and then you could have different
Madden,
cover athletes.
It's just like
yeah, but Madden is a whole other situation of this weird, why did we end up with this name?
That is strange, isn't it? Yeah. Why is it not just called NFL?
Oh, there you go. What's the Tiger Woods? What are the golf games called these days?
PGA Tour.
PGA Tour.
Oh, that's what they used to be, right? Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, they've gone back to that.
And they did occasionally try to not be Tiger Woods.
Oh yeah, they did Rory McIlroy. Yeah,
nice try.
That was not necessarily because people cared more about him. It was more like they couldn't care about Tiger at that specific moment for reasons.
Yeah. Also, yeah, I guess a similar problem, but they tried, right? Isn't it? That no one's as recognizable as Tiger in the sport.
Well, sure.
Even now, right? No one's. Then there have been probably more successful golfers at this point.
Have there? I don't know.
I'm not sure, but maybe they have.
Not yet, maybe.
Did he actually beat? Did he beat Jack Nicklaus then?
I don't know. I don't know that he did.
I don't know if he did. Arnold Palmer.
It's not like they made Lewis Hamilton Racing or something like that, which they might as well have done. He's the most successful.
Well, that would be. I mean, yeah. Might as well.
I think that's because. Well, in F1's case, I guess there's no other league of F1, I guess, because F1 is just F1.
Yeah, unless you want to count like the other racing leagues.
Sure, but they're not the same class, I guess. F1 is just F1 by itself.
But Hamilton will have had to have come up for a few of the classes.
Sure,
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to make the Lewis Hamilton game where you do karting and F2, that would be kind of interesting. But
work your way up to it. I mean, I'm surprised they haven't just factored that into the F1 game in some way.
I could easily see it being like a throwaway mode where it's just like, here's the carts.
Or maybe the license for both F1 and F2 is a bit much. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know.
I imagine that organisation charges a lot for that license.
But would that organisation even consider those separate licenses? Would they even imagine that someone would care enough about F2 to buy it as a separate license?
I think the license games. I heard that the most recent WRX is actually all right. Not a Codemasters Rally game.
Sure.
And they've actually got it to the point where they're okay. I forget which one I tried. Was it WRX 4 or 5 or something? And it was
like that.
It was a bit ropey. Okay, again, okay, but maybe It's just nice to see someone else actually try and get good. It's always nice to see developers get good.
It's rare these days.
I mean, obvious rare joke.
I mean, they needed to get re-good.
Re-good? Well, I'm sure that new Perfect Dark will solve everything.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be the one. Oh, dear.
It's about recycling, isn't it? Oh, it's about the economy. I was about to say economy. About ecology.
I think
Maybe.
so.
But who knows what the conspiracy theory behind that is. Because there's got to be one.
Right, I think we're out of time for this podcast.
It's a podcast.
It's a podcast. Thank you for joining us. Check out our YouTube channel, and we'll be back up and running with this new studio. Well, we already are, but I'm sure it'll be even more kitted out before long.
It will get. I mean, it's not going to change in the next week, but
No.
a week after maybe.
Week after,
might be a bit
yeah.
nicer.
We'll
I mean, I need
return
to
to
get some
service.
baffling in here. It's a bit echoey.
Yeah, get it. So we're fully baffled. I mean, I'm baffled a lot of the time anyway. So,
Well
and
baffled.
it might not be long until we're all in a person podcast, fully in person podcast, maybe.
I was about to say it's like an in-person podcast, not in a person podcast.
yeah, but not in a. No,
I mean, technically, this is a person podcast, right? It's hosted by people, not
Not
cats.
bananas.
Not Peely.
not Peelies. It's true. Well, for all your person podcast needs, we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another Saladcast.
Bye.
Bye.